The moment you stop running, you feel it before you can explain it, a quiet pressure inside your chest, a knowing that never fully leaves. You can distract yourself, you can stay busy, you can keep moving, but it always returns. That sense that something is unfinished, that something inside you is waiting. You are not broken, you are not behind, you are not lacking. You are awake enough to feel the gap between who you are and who you know you can be. Right now, let yourself slow down, just enough to listen, not to the noise outside you, to the voice underneath it all. You know this feeling, the tiredness that sleep does not fix, the exhaustion that comes from carrying unused potential. You wake up, you perform, you repeat, and part of you wonders how long this can continue. You tell yourself you will change later, after one more push, after one more distraction, after one more excuse. But the truth stays patient. It waits for you. You feel it. Something inside you knows this is not who you are meant to be. This moment is not about blame. There is no judgment, only awareness, only honesty. You have been running, not from failure, from responsibility to your own strength. That is understandable. Power demands something from you. Greatness asks for commitment, and commitment removes escape routes. So you learn to stay just busy enough, just distracted enough, just comfortable enough, not miserable, but not fulfilled. And that middle space slowly drains you. You smile when expected. You function, you survive. But deep down, you know survival is not the goal. You were not built to merely get through days. You were built to command them. Breathe. Let the tension rise for a moment. Do not push it away. This pressure is not your enemy. It is a signal. The part of you that refuses to stay small is speaking. You do not lack potential. You lack command. Potential without direction becomes frustration. Strength without discipline becomes anxiety. Vision without action becomes regret. And you have felt all three, not because you are weak, because you are powerful and untrained. That matters. Right now, something important is happening. You are not consuming words. You are standing at a threshold. This is the moment you stop running. Not dramatically, not loudly, quietly, internally. You stop pretending you do not know what is required. You stop negotiating with your future. You stop asking for permission. You stand still and you face yourself. There are two versions of you in this moment, the one you have been and the one who is waiting. The old version knows comfort, knows avoidance, knows how to stay safe. The emerging version knows truth, knows discipline, knows that comfort has a cost. These two cannot coexist forever. One will lead, one will follow. The tension you feel right now is the space between them. Stay here. Do not rush, do not escape. This pressure is shaping you. You have tried motivation before. You have felt inspired before. You have promised yourself things before. This is different. This is not excitement. This is resolve forming. You are not here to be entertained. You are here because something inside you is done settling. From this moment on, you are no longer asleep. Awakening is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is clear. You begin to see patterns, habits, excuses dressed as logic. You see how often you delay the difficult thing, how often you wait for the perfect moment, how often you silence the voice that pushes you forward. And instead of turning away, you stay. That is strength. Feel the shift. It is subtle, but it is real. You are beginning to separate from your old self, not with anger, with authority. You understand now. The old ways were not evil. They were incomplete. They protected you when you did not know your power. They kept you comfortable while your strength slept. But you are no longer asleep. So the rules change. You will feel resistant. That is expected. The mind resists change because change removes familiarity. Let the resistance rise, then let it pass. You are not here to argue. You are here to lead it. Stand up internally. Straighten your posture on the inside. You rise now. This is the line in the sand, not against the world, against the version of you that stays small. You are not declaring war. You are declaring leadership. Leadership begins with self-command. Say it quietly to yourself. I am ready. Let those words settle. You do not need to prove anything today. You do not need to rush. You only need to decide. Decision is powerful because it closes doors. And the door you are closing now is the one behind you. You are done running in circles. Feel the relief in that. Relief does not come from ease. It comes from clarity. And clarity is arriving. You are allowed to want more. You are allowed to expect more from yourself. You are allowed to grow beyond familiar limits. There is nothing wrong with you for wanting to rise. The world does not need you. Smaller, it needs you disciplined, focused, grounded. This is not about perfection. It is about direction. You choose where your energy goes. You choose what thoughts stay. You choose what habits survive. Choice after choice, day after day. This is how identity changes. You are becoming the person who does not look away. The person who stays present when it gets uncomfortable. The person who keeps going when the excitement fades. Feel the empowerment building. Not loud, solid. Like standing on firm ground after drifting. You are still the same human being, but your relationship with yourself has shifted. You trust yourself a little more. You respect yourself a little more. That matters. Say it again, I rise. Let the words move through. This is not a promise to be perfect. It is a commitment to be honest. Honest about effort. Honest about discipline. Honest about who you are becoming. There will be moments ahead when you want to retreat, when comfort calls, when distraction feels easier. And when that happens, you will remember this moment. The moment you stopped running. You will remember how it felt to stand still, to face yourself, to choose leadership over avoidance. This is the foundation. Everything else builds on this decision. You are ready now, not someday now. The path ahead will demand focus. It will demand restraint. It will demand courage. And you are capable of all of it, because you are awake, because you have chosen, because you are here. Take a breath. The next step is waiting. Chapter 1, Master or Slave. The truth about the mind. The mind is always working, even when you are tired, even when you are distracted, even when you tell yourself you are resting. Thoughts continue to move. Images rise and fall. Emotions follow patterns you did not consciously choose. This is not a flaw. This is the nature of the mind. But what matters is not that it moves. What matters is whether it is led. Most people never stop to ask who is in control. They feel a thought and assume it is truth. They feel an emotion and assume it is a command. They feel resistance and assume it is a signal to stop. Over time, this turns the mind into a cage built out of habit and reaction, not because the person is weak, because the mind was never trained. The mind defaults to comfort. It seeks familiarity. It avoids effort. It chooses what feels safe over what leads to growth. This happens automatically. If left unchecked, the mind will protect you from discomfort even when discomfort is the doorway to strength. It will keep you small while convincing you it is helping. This is where the division begins. The mind can be a weapon or a prison. There is no middle ground. A weapon is directed. A prison is automatic. A weapon serves intention. A prison enforces habit. And the difference is not intelligence. It is awareness. Awareness is the first act of power. The moment you notice a thought instead of becoming it, something changes. You create space. You step back. You stop being carried and begin observing. That pause is small, but it is everything. That pause is where leadership begins. Right now, notice your thoughts as you listen. Not to judge them, not to fight them, just to see them. Notice how they rise without invitation. Notice how they comment, predict, warn, distract. This is the system you have been living inside, and for most of your life it has been running without supervision. Weakness is not a character flaw. Weakness is untrained thought. It is allowing impulses to decide. It is letting emotions drive direction. It is mistaking feeling for fact. None of this means you are incapable. It means you are early in your training. Imagine an untamed horse. Strong, fast, powerful. Left alone, it runs wherever instinct pulls it. It wastes energy. It panics at shadows. It resists direction, not because it is bad, but because it has never been guided. The same is true of the mind. Untamed, it exhausts you. Trained, it carries you farther than you imagine. Most people let their minds pull them through the day, one thought to the next, one emotion to the next. They react, they cope, they adjust, but they do not lead. And without leadership, the mind does not rise to greatness. It settles into routine. You are here because routine no longer satisfies you. Something in you wants command. Something in you wants clarity. That is not an accident. That is your awareness waking up. Observe your thoughts. Do not argue with them yet. Do not correct them yet. Just see them. See how often they drift toward comfort. See how quickly they resist effort. See how easily they try to pull you back into familiar patterns. Observation alone begins to weaken their control. The mind is also like an untrained guard at the gate. It lets everything in. Doubt walks through. Distraction walks through. Old fears walk through wearing new clothes. And because the guard was never instructed, it assumes everything belongs there. Training the mind means choosing what enters, choosing what stays, choosing what is acted on. This does not happen all at once. It begins with refusal to believe every feeling, refusal to obey every impulse, refusal to let the loudest thought lead. Stop believing everything you feel. Feelings are signals, not orders. They inform you, but they do not command you. The moment you separate information from authority, you step into control. You are no longer dragged by emotional weather. You become the one who decides direction. This is where many people become uncomfortable because control means responsibility. Control means you cannot hide behind moods. Control means you can no longer say you did not know, but it also means freedom, real freedom, the freedom to choose your response, the freedom to stay steady when things press against you. You are not here to silence the mind. You are here to lead it. Take control. Control does not mean force. It means clarity. It means deciding in advance who is in charge. It means understanding that comfort is persuasive but not wise. It means choosing growth even when the mind suggests delay. Notice how the mind negotiates, how it asks for exceptions, how it promises tomorrow, how it minimizes what matters and magnifies what distracts. This is not sabotage. It is survival instinct doing its job, but you are no longer surviving. You are building. This is the identity shift. You are no longer a passenger. You take the wheel. A passenger looks out the window and hopes the road leads somewhere meaningful. A driver chooses the route, adjusts speed, stays alert. A driver does not panic at every turn. A driver remains engaged. Right now, feel that shift inside you, the subtle movement from being carried to being present, from drifting to directing. This is not loud. It is firm. You will still feel resistance. You will still feel doubt. Those do not disappear. They lose authority. They become background noise instead of command. This is the beginning of mastery, not mastery over others, mastery over self. And self-mastery always begins in the mind. Stay with this awareness. Let it deepen. The next layer is coming. The moment you begin to observe the mind, you step outside its automatic control. You are no longer submerged. You are standing on the edge, watching the current instead of being dragged by it. This alone changes how you move through the world. Awareness creates distance. Distance creates choice. Choice creates power. At first, this awareness may feel uncomfortable. You may notice how often your thoughts repeat, how predictable your worries are, how quickly your focus fractures. This is not failure. This is clarity arriving. You are seeing the system as it is, not as you hoped it was. And truth, even when it stings, is a form of strength. Most people never reach this point. They stay fused to their thoughts. They say, I am anxious instead of I feel anxiety. They say, I am tired instead of fatigue is present. Language matter. Words shape identity. When you merge with every mental state, you hand over control. When you observe, you reclaim it. The mind will test you. It will try to pull you back into old habits. It will whisper urgency where there is none. It will exaggerate discomfort. It will suggest that this level of awareness is unnecessary. This is not sabotage. This is conditioning, and conditioning can be retrained. The mind was built to conserve energy. It prefers what is familiar. It avoids what requires sustained attention. This is why comfort feels so persuasive. Comfort promises relief without effort, but comfort also limits range. It shrinks your world quietly day by day until you forget how wide it could be. Greatness does not come from intensity alone. It comes from consistency under pressure. And consistency requires a trained mind, a mind that can stay present when boredom appears, a mind that can stay steady when emotion rises, a mind that does not collapse under its own internal noise. This is why discipline begins internally, before schedules, before habits, before results. Discipline begins with attention, where it goes, how long it stays, what it obeys. Observe your thoughts again. Notice how some arrive with urgency. They demand action. They create pressure. They say now or never. Others are quieter but persistent. They repeat old stories. They remind you of past outcomes. They try to predict your limits. None of these thoughts are you. They are mental events, passing weather, signals generated by a system designed to keep you safe, not to make you great. Safety and greatness are not the same destination. Stop believing everything you feel. This is not suppression. This is discernment. You allow feelings to exist without allowing them to rule. You acknowledge them without surrendering direction. This is emotional maturity. This is leadership. Think of the untrained guard again. If every thought is allowed through the gate, chaos enters. Fear walks in and rearranges the furniture. Doubt sits at the table and starts making decisions. Distraction opens the windows and lets focus escape. Training the guard means setting standards. Not everything is permitted access. Not every thought deserves attention. Not every emotion earns obedience. This requires patience. The mind will push back. It will accuse you of being rigid. It will suggest you are ignoring something important. Stay calm. Stay steady. Leadership does not argue, it decides. Take control. Control begins with small moments. A pause before reacting. A breath before responding. A choice to stay instead of escape. These moments feel insignificant. They are not. They are repetition. And repetition is how identity is built. Every time you choose awareness over impulse, you strengthen the part of you that leads. Every time you notice a thought and let it pass, you loosen its grip. This is training, quiet, relentless, effective. There will be days when your mind feels loud, when focus feels difficult, when old patterns try to reassert themselves. Do not interpret this as regression. Resistance increases when change is real. Pressure appears when growth is near. An untamed horse does not submit immediately. It tests boundary. It resists direction. It pulls against the reins. This is not defiance. It is adjustment. Over time, with consistency, strength aligns with guidance. Power becomes useful. Your mind is no different. You are not here to dominate it with force. You are here to align it with purpose. Purpose gives direction. Direction gives meaning. Meaning sustains effort. Notice how your internal dialogue shifts when you stop reacting. Notice the space that opens. In that space, you can choose differently. You can choose effort over ease, presence over distraction, action over delay. This is not about eliminating. Fear will appear. It always does when you step beyond familiarity. The difference now is that fear no longer decides. It informs. You listen, then you move anyway. This is how courage functions. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is movement with awareness. It is the decision to act while emotion catches up. The more you practice this, the quieter the mind becomes. Not silent, focused, trained, responsive instead of reactive. You begin to notice something else as well. Your energy stabilizes. You are no longer constantly drained by internal debate. You waste less effort arguing with yourself. Direction removes friction. This is the relief that follows command. Relief does not come from avoiding effort. It comes from alignment. When your actions match your values, tension dissolves. When your mind follows your lead, momentum builds. You are not forcing yourself forward. You are guiding yourself forward. Say it internally. Take control. Let those words anchor you. This is not about becoming rigid or cold. It is about becoming reliable. Reliable to yourself. Reliable under pressure. Reliable when motivation fades. People who lead themselves well do not rely on mood. They rely on principle. They decide once and execute repeatedly. This is how the mind becomes a weapon. Directed, focused, purposeful. A weapon is not chaotic. It is precise. It is calm. It waits for the moment it is needed. It does not fire at every impulse. It is discipline. Your mind is capable of that level of discipline. Feel the shift happening now. The subtle strengthening, the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can observe without collapsing, choose without panicking, stay without escaping. You are no longer at the mercy of your internal noise. You are learning to listen without obeying. This is mastery beginning, and mastery is built layer by layer. Stay present. The next layer will demand more from you. As mastery begins to take shape, you start to recognize a deeper truth. The mind does not need to be fought. It needs to be understood. What you understand, you can guide. What you guide consistently, you can trust. And trust in yourself is the foundation of all strength. Most people spend their lives reacting to pressure, reacting to emotion, reacting to circumstances they did not choose. Reaction feels active, but it is passive at its core. It is movement without direction. And over time, reaction exhausts you. It scatters your energy. It fragments your focus. You are learning something different now. You are learning to respond. Response is deliberate. Response is chosen. Response carries intention, and intention transforms effort into progress. The mind will continue to produce thoughts. That will never stop, but your relationship to those thoughts has changed. You no longer confuse noise with guidance. You no longer mistake urgency for importance. You have begun to sort signal from distraction. This is where real control settles in, quietly, firmly. You start to notice that discomfort no longer scares you in the same way. It still appears. It still tightens your chest, but it does dominate your direction. You understand now that discomfort often signals growth. That resistance often marks the edge of expansion. Instead of pulling away, you lean in with awareness. Observe your thoughts. You notice how often the mind tries to rush you, how it pushes for immediate relief, how it seeks shortcuts. This is the old pattern, the survival pattern. It kept you functioning. It kept you safe, but it also kept you limited. You are not rejecting that part of yourself. You are updating it. Stop believing everything you feel. Feelings fluctuate. They rise and fall based on sleep, stress, memory, expectation. If you follow them blindly, your direction changes daily. Leadership requires steadiness. It requires the ability to hold a course even when the internal weather shifts. This steadiness is not stiffness. It is groundedness. You bend without breaking. You adapt without abandoning your path. This is how the mind becomes a tool instead of a trap. Think again of the untrained guard at the gate. Now imagine that guard alert, calm, disciplined. He does not panic at every sound. He does not open the gate to every voice. He checks. He assesses. He decides. That guard is awareness. With practice, awareness becomes your default. You catch yourself before spirals form. You notice tension before it becomes overwhelm. You see distraction before it steals hours of your life. This saves energy, massive amounts of it. Energy once wasted on inner conflict becomes available for creation, for focus, for execution. This is why mastery feels empowering. You are no longer fighting yourself. Take control. Control now feels less like effort and more like alignment. You know what matters. You know what does not. You are clearer about where to place your attention. This clarity is rare, and it is valuable. As it grows, something else changes. Your self-respect deepens. You begin to trust your ability to stay present, to follow through, to lead yourself through discomfort without collapsing or escaping. That trust is earned, and because it is earned, it is stable. You no longer need constant reassurance. You no longer rely on bursts of motivation. You rely on your capacity to choose deliberately. This is the identity shift solidifying. You are no longer a passenger. You take the wheel, not just once, repeatedly, daily, in small moments that compound. You choose to focus when distraction is available. You choose to act when delay feels tempting. You choose to stay honest when excuses present themselves. Each choice reinforces the same message internally. I can be trusted. That message changes everything. The mind responds to leadership. When it senses clarity and consistency, it relaxes. It stops overcompensating. It stops generating unnecessary noise. It begins to support instead of resist. This is relief. Relief does not mean ease. It means coherence. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to move in the same direction. Friction decreases. Momentum increases. You feel more solid, more centered, less scattered. This does not make life effortless. It makes effort effective. Challenges will still appear. Pressure will still test you. The difference now is that you meet those moments with presence instead of panic, with intention instead of impulse. You have a reference point, a calm center you return to. This is what mastery feels like in its early stages. Quiet, grounded, reliable. You are not done. This is only the beginning, but the foundation is set. You have learned to see your mind clearly, to understand its defaults, to recognize comfort as persuasive but not authoritative, to separate feeling from command. That knowledge cannot be taken from you. From here on, every chapter builds on this base. Discipline, focus, resilience, leadership. None of it works without mental command, and now that command is forming. Take a breath. Notice how you feel right now compared to when you started this chapter. More present, more anchored, less reactive. That is not accidental. You did not become someone else. You remembered how to lead yourself. Carry this forward. The next stage will challenge you to apply this mastery under pressure, to move deliberately when it would be easier to drift. You are ready for that challenge. Stay steady. The path continues. Chapter 2, Discipline is freedom, not punishment. Discipline has been misunderstood for a long time. It has been framed as restriction, as pressure, as something imposed from the outside, something you endure, something you survive. And because of that, many people resist it before they ever experience its power. They see discipline as a loss of freedom. In truth, discipline is the doorway to it. Freedom does not come from doing whatever you feel in the moment. That kind of freedom is fragile. It collapses under pressure. Real freedom is the ability to act in alignment with your goals regardless of mood, fatigue, or resistance. Real freedom is self-respect in motion. At first, discipline feels uncomfortable because it removes excuses. It exposes where you have been relying on motivation instead of commitment. Motivation is emotional. It rises and falls. It depends on circumstances. Discipline is structural. It stays. It carries you forward when emotion fades. You have felt this difference before. There were days when you felt driven, energized, ready, and there were days when that energy vanished. Motivation did not show up consistently. Discipline did not either, not yet. But discipline can be built. And once it is built, it does not abandon you. The mind prefers comfort. It will always argue for rest over effort, delay over action, ease over growth. Comfort feels kind. It feels reasonable. It feels safe. But comfort does not care about your future. Comfort cares about the moment. Discipline cares about who you are becoming. This is the reframe that changes everything. Discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect expressed through action. It is the decision to treat your future with seriousness. It is proof that you believe your goals deserve consistency, not occasional attention. When you remove emotion from decision-making, something powerful happens. You stop negotiating. You stop asking how you feel. You act because you decided. That decision becomes a structure you can rely on. Calm settles in when structure appears. At first, resistance rises. The mind pushes back. It says this is too much. It says this is unnecessary. It says tomorrow would be better. This resistance is not a sign that discipline is wrong. It is a sign that discipline is working. You are challenging an old pattern. Do not fight the resistance. Acknowledge it, then move anyway. Show up anyway. Showing up does not require enthusiasm. It requires presence. It requires the willingness to take the first step even when the mind drags its feet. That first step is often the hardest because it breaks inertia. Once movement begins, momentum follows. Discipline is built in small moments, not dramatic transformations, not sudden overhauls, small daily commands, decisions that seem insignificant in isolation but powerful in repetition. You decide to begin when it would be easier to delay. You decide to finish when it would be easier to stop. These choices send a clear message to your mind. You are in charge. This is how dominance is built, quietly, repeatedly. The mind learns through evidence. Every time you follow through, you reinforce trust. Every time you act despite resistance, you strengthen authority. Over time, the mind stops arguing as loudly. It learns that excuses no longer change outcomes. This is relief through clarity. Clarity does not remove effort. It removes friction. You know what you expect from yourself. You know what happens when resistance appears. You do not panic. You do not spiral. You execute. Do it tired. Tiredness is not a stop sign. It is a condition. There will be many days when energy is low and pressure is high. If discipline only exists on good days, it is not discipline. It is convenience. Doing it tired builds confidence that motivation never could. It proves to you that you are not dependent on how you feel. It expands your sense of capability. You realize you can function, focus, and move forward even when conditions are not ideal. This realization is empowering. Comfort tries to convince you that growth should feel good all the time, that if something is difficult, it must be wrong. This is not true. Growth often feels heavy before it feels rewarding. Strength develops under resistance. Comfort is persuasive, but comfort is also limiting. It shrinks ambition. It lowers standard. It keeps you repeating what you already know. Discipline interrupts that cycle. When you choose discipline, you choose long-term freedom over short-term ease. You choose progress over relief. You choose leadership over avoidance. Win today. Winning today does not mean perfection. It means honoring the commitment you made to yourself. It means doing the thing you said you would do. That is all. One win today is enough. One act of follow-through compounds. Over time, these wins change how you see yourself. You stop questioning your reliability. You stop doubting your follow-through. You become someone who does what they decide. Hat identity is powerful. Say it internally. I decide who I become. Let that settle. Discipline is not about becoming rigid or harsh. It is about becoming consistent. Consistency builds trust. Trust builds confidence. Confidence creates momentum. You are not forcing yourself into a narrow life. You are building a strong foundation, a foundation that supports bigger goals, greater responsibility, and deeper fulfillment. The tension you feel right now is part of the process. Stay with it. Do not escape it. This tension is shaping discipline into something sustainable. The next layer will push you further. As discipline begins to take root, you notice a shift in how you experience resistance. It no longer feels like a wall. It feels like a signal, a reminder that something meaningful is happening. Resistance shows up when old patterns are being challenged, when comfort is losing influence, when a new standard is forming. Most people misinterpret resistance as a warning. They assume it means they are pushing too hard or going the wrong way. In reality, resistance often means you are exactly where growth lives. The mind is adjusting to a new expectation. It is learning that excuses no longer lead. This is where discipline deepens. You begin to see how often you used emotion as a deciding factor. If you felt ready, you acted. If you felt uncertain, you waited. If you felt tired, you stopped. That pattern gave emotion authority. Discipline removes that authority without suppressing emotion. You feel everything. You just do not let feeling decide. This is self-respect in action. Self-respect is not how you speak to yourself in calm moments. It is how you treat your commitments when pressure appears. When you follow through despite resistance, you send a powerful message inward. You matter enough to be taken seriously. Your goals matter enough to be honored. This message changes your internal posture. You stand differently inside yourself. You stop bargaining. You stop asking for exceptions. You act with quiet certainty. The mind begins to adapt. It learns that delay no longer works. It learns that comfort is not the highest priority. It learns that effort is expected, not negotiated. This does not make life heavy. It makes it lighter. When decisions are already made, energy is saved. When standards are clear, confusion disappears. When you know what you will do regardless of mood, anxiety loses leverage. This is relief through clarity again. Notice how discipline creates space. Space from constant inner debate, space from guilt, space from regret. You are no longer constantly restarting. You are continuing. That continuity builds momentum. Small daily commands create dominance because they compound. Each time you show up, you strengthen the identity of someone who shows up. Each time you do it tired, you expand your tolerance for effort. Each time you win today, you reduce the gap between intention and action. Dominance does not come from intensity. It comes from reliability. You do not need to overwhelm yourself. You need to outlast resistance. You need to stay steady when novelty fades. This is where most people fall away, not because they cannot do the work, because they stop when it becomes ordinary. Discipline thrives in the ordinary. It thrives when no one is watching, when there is no immediate reward, when the outcome is distant. This is why discipline is rare and why it is powerful. Comfort will continue to offer alternative. It will suggest rest instead of effort. It will suggest delay instead of action. It will suggest ease instead of growth. These suggestions will sound reasonable. They always do. Pause when they appear. Observe the pattern. Then choose deliberately. Show up anyway. This command is not aggressive. It is grounded. It does not require force. It requires presence. You do not need to feel powerful to act powerfully. You need to move. Movement breaks stagnation. Movement shifts internal state. Movement creates evidence. Do it tired. Tiredness strips away illusion. When you act while tired, you prove that your identity is not dependent on ideal conditions. You prove that you can be trusted under strain. That trust builds confidence that lasts. Confidence built this way is not fragile. It does not disappear when conditions change. It is anchored in experience. You begin to realize that discipline does not drain you the way avoidance does. Avoidance creates tension. Discipline resolves it. When you do what you said you would do, the mind relaxes. There is no open loop. No lingering self-disappointment. That resolution feels good. This is why discipline becomes freeing. It removes the mental weight of unfinished intentions. It clears space. It simplifies life. You know what matters, you do it. Then you rest without guilt. This is balance earned, not borrowed. Say it again internally. I decide who I become. This affirmation is not wishful. It is factual. Every decision reinforces it. You are actively shaping your identity through action. As discipline strengthens, you begin to raise your standards naturally, not out of pressure, out of respect. You expect more from yourself because you know you can deliver more. This expectation does not feel harsh. It feels honest. You stop underestimating yourself. You stop treating your potential casually. You become someone who follows through. This changes how you move through the world. Others feel it. More importantly, you feel it. You trust your word. You trust your direction. You trust your ability to endure effort without collapsing. That trust is freedom. Freedom to pursue bigger goals. Freedom to take on responsibility. Freedom to lead yourself and others with steadiness. Discipline is not limiting you. It is preparing you. Stay with this feeling. Let it settle into your posture, your breath, your awareness. The next stage will require you to apply this discipline when pressure increases, when excuses become more creative, when comfort feels louder. You are building the capacity to meet that moment. Stay ready. The final layer of this chapter is coming. At this stage, discipline stops feeling like something you are trying to build and starts feeling like something you are becoming. It moves from effort to identity, from something you do to something you rely on. This is where discipline stops being fragile and starts being durable. You no longer wait to feel ready. You no longer need to convince yourself. You act because acting is who you are now. This does not mean resistance disappears. It means resistance no longer surprises you. You expect it. You factor it in. And you move anyway. This is quiet power. The strongest people are not the loudest or the most intense. They are the most consistent. They are steady when others fluctuate. They continue when others pause. They show up when no one is watching. Discipline gives you that steadiness. You begin to notice how different your days feel. Less chaotic, less emotionally reactive, more intentional. You waste less time debating yourself. You conserve energy because decisions have already been made. When effort becomes routine, it stops feeling heavy. This is why discipline creates freedom. It removes the burden of constant choice. It simplifies your internal world. You know what is expected. You know what you will do. That certainty is calming. Comfort no longer controls you because you have experienced something better. You have felt the relief of follow-through, the clarity of completion, the satisfaction of honoring your word. Comfort promised ease. Discipline delivered peace. This is an important distinction. Ease is temporary. Peace is lasting. When you act in alignment with your values, tension dissolves. You are no longer split between intention and action. You are integrated, whole, focused. This integration is strength. Win today. Winning today becomes a mindset, not a checklist. It is not about overwhelming effort. It is about alignment. Did you do what you said you would do? Did you act according to your standard? If the answer is yes, today counts. These daily wins stack quietly. Over time, they build a life that feels solid, a life that does not require constant repair, a life you trust. Trust in yourself changes how you approach challenges. You no longer question whether you can handle difficult. You know you can. You have evidence. That evidence becomes confidence, not performative confidence, grounded confidence. Confidence built through discipline does not need validation. It does not need applause. It is internal, stable, reliable. You begin to move differently. You speak with more certainty. You decide faster. You hesitate less, not because you are reckless, but because you trust your process. This is leadership energy. Leadership begins internally. When you lead yourself well, others feel it. They sense consistency. They sense reliability. They sense calm under pressure. But this chapter is not about others. It is about you. You deciding who you become. Say it again. I decide who I become. This decision is renewed every day. Discipline is not a one-time act. It is a practice, a daily choice to honor your future over your comfort. Some days will feel smooth. Some days will feel heavy. Discipline holds across both. It does not require perfect conditions. It works in real life, in fatigue, in stress, in uncertainty. This is why it lasts. You are no longer waiting for motivation to save you. You have built something stronger. You have built structure, and structure supports growth when emotion cannot. Feel the relief in that. You are not fragile. You are not dependent on mood. You are capable of sustained effort. That realization changes how you see obstacles. They no longer feel personal. They feel procedural, something to work through, not something to escape. This mindset is freeing. As this chapter comes to a close, understand what you have claimed. You have reframed discipline from punishment to power, from restriction to respect, from obligation to freedom. This is a permanent shift if you choose to keep it. The path ahead will test this discipline. It will ask you to apply it under pressure, to maintain it when things speed up, to protect it when distractions multiply. You are ready for that test. You are no longer negotiating with yourself. You are leading yourself. Take a breath. Feel the steadiness you have built. The next chapter will challenge your focus even further. Chapter 3. UV's your old self. There comes a point when growth stops feeling like improvement and starts feeling like confrontation. Not with the world, with yourself. The version of you that has learned how to survive. The version that knows your routines, your patterns, your delays. That version does not disappear quietly. It fights to stay alive. This is the internal war no one warns you about. You thought change would feel like progress, like motivation, like forward motion without resistance. Instead, it feels like friction, like being pulled in opposite directions. One part of you reaching forward, another gripping what is familiar. That tension is not confusion. It is clarity. You are no longer becoming. You are separating. Your old self knows your shortcuts. It knows how to keep you comfortable. It knows how to justify delay. It speaks in a familiar voice. Calm, reasonable, convincing. It does not shout. It whispers. That voice in your head is not you. It is a pattern, a collection of past decisions trying to preserve itself. It fears change because change threatens its control. It resists growth because growth requires its retirement. You are evolving. It resists. This is where many people turn back. Not because they are incapable, because the resistance feels personal. They assume the struggle means something is wrong. It does not. The struggle means something is ending. Growth requires separation from habits that once served you, from routines that no longer fit, from identities built around limitation. You cannot carry your old self into your next level. Something must be left behind. This is not about rejecting who you were. That version of you kept you alive. It protected you when you lacked awareness. It helped you adapt. It deserves respect, but it does not deserve control. Respect does not mean obedience. Right now, notice what comes up when you imagine letting go of old habits, old excuses, old ways of thinking. There may be fear. There may be sadness. There may be resistance disguised as logic. Observe it. You are not here to fight emotions. You are here to choose direction. The old self thrives on delay. It suggests later. It promises tomorrow. It frames comfort as wisdom. It uses memory as evidence that change is risky. But memory is not prophecy. Identity is not inherited. It is chosen. Every day you reinforce who you are by what you thought patterns, behavioral loops, emotional reactions. These repetitions form identity over time. An identity once formed fights to remain intact. This is why change feels like a battle. You are not just changing actions. You are challenging an identity, and identities defend themselves. The old self will remind you of who you have been, of what you have struggled with, of times you failed. It will try to convince you that consistency is not for you, that discipline is unnatural, that comfort is reasonable. Do not argue with it. See it. Awareness weakens its grip. When you observe the old self without merging with, create space. In that space, choice appears, and choice is power. You begin to realize something important. The voice that doubts you sounds familiar because you have listened to it for years. Familiar does not mean true. Truth is quieter. Truth does not rush you. Truth does not threaten. It simply waits for you to be ready to hear it. And right now, you are ready. You feel the pull forward, the desire to step into something stronger, more disciplined, more grounded. That desire is not random. It is the emerging self asserting presence. The emerging self does not beg. It does not panic. It waits with certainty. It asks one question: are you willing to let go? Letting go is uncomfortable because it removes identity anchor. You may wonder who you are without certain habits, without certain excuses, without certain stories. This uncertainty is not empty, it is potential. You are standing between versions. The old self knows how to survive. The new self is learning how to lead. Only one can dominate. This is not a battle of force. It is a battle of attention. Whichever voice you feed grows stronger. Whichever pattern you repeat becomes dominant. You decide which one survives. This decision does not happen once. It happens daily, in small moments, in choices that seem insignificant, in pauses where you could default or choose deliberately. This is why the conflict feels constant. You are rewiring, and rewiring creates friction. And do not mistake friction for failure. The old self will attempt to negotiate. It will say you can change without letting go completely, that you can keep certain habits, certain comforts, certain delays. This is compromise disguised as wisdom. Growth does not negotiate with comfort. It asks for commitment. You are not asked to destroy your past. You are asked to stop letting it lead, to step out of patterns that no longer serve your direction. You may feel grief for what you are leaving. That is human. Let it pass. Do not cling to it. The future version of you needs space to form. That space is created by decisive separation. Say it internally. That voice in your head is not you. Feel the distance that creates. You are not your thoughts. You are not your impulses. You are the one who notices them, the one who chooses. This is where power consolidates. As you hold this awareness, the conflict sharpens. The old self senses the shift. It resists more strongly. It may intensify doubt. It may amplify fatigue. It may create urgency to return to familiar ground. Stay steady. This is the pressure point where transformation begins. You are not being asked to rush. You are being asked to decide. Let go. Not later. Now. Feel the tension rise. Let it peak. Do not escape it. This moment matters. The next part will demand clarity and courage. Once the conflict is exposed, it becomes impossible to ignore. You feel it in ordinary moments, when you wake up, when you hesitate, when you reach for what is familiar instead of what moves you forward. The battle is no longer abstract. It is active, and it is happening inside you. Your old self does not disappear just because you recognize. Awareness weakens its authority, but habit gives it momentum. Patterns built over years do not dissolve overnight. They test you. They wait for moments of fatigue, stress, or doubt. They look for opening. This is why separation must be intentional. The old self survives on repetition. It needs you to act the same way again and again. When you interrupt the pattern even once, you introduce instability into its structure. When you interrupt it repeatedly, it begins to collapse. This is where discipline meets identity. Every time you choose differently, you create evidence. Evidence that you are no longer who you were. Evidence that the old rules no longer apply. Evidence that the past does not get to decide the future. The old self will respond to this evidence by escalating. It will question your consistency. It will remind you of times you stopped before. It will say this is temporary, that you always return. That voice is not you. It is memory trying to protect relevance. Do not take it personally. Do not engage emotionally. See it for what it is. A system attempting to preserve itself. You are evolving, it resists. Growth requires separation not only from habits, but from environments, triggers, and internal agreements you no longer need. Agreements like, this is just how I am, or this is as far as I go. Those agreements were never facts. They were conclusions drawn during earlier chapters of your life. You are in a new chapter now, and new chapters require new rules. You may notice moments of grief. Grief for the comfort you are leaving. Grief for the identity that felt familiar. This grief does not mean you are going backwards. It means you are closing a door that once felt like home. Honor the feeling, then move. Separation is not rejection. It is prioritization. You are prioritizing growth over familiarity, leadership over comfort, direction over drift. This choice will not always feel empowering in the moment. Sometimes it will feel lonely. Sometimes it will feel uncertain. Sometimes it will feel like you are walking without a map. That is normal. Maps are drawn from the past. You are building something new. The emerging version of you does not have years of evidence yet. It is forming, learning, strengthening. It needs protection, space, repetition. This is why boundaries matter now. Internal boundary. You decide which thoughts get attention, which impulses get acted on, which habits get reinforced. Identity is chosen through repetition. You choose it when you act despite resistance. You choose it when you stay present instead of escaping. You choose it when you let discomfort pass without obeying it. These choices do not feel dramatic. They feel quiet, ordinary, but they are decisive. The old self loses power every time you refuse to repeat it. Notice how your inner dialogue begins to change. The old voice still appears, but it feels less convincing, less authoritative. It sounds outdated, like advice from a previous version of you. You do not need to silence it. You simply do not need to follow it. This creates internal space, and in that space, the new identity strengthens. You begin to act with more intention. You hesitate less. You question excuses more quickly. You recognize patterns before they pull you in. This is awareness becoming instinct. You are no longer constantly surprised by yourself. You see yourself coming, and that foresight gives you leverage. The battle is still there, but it is shifting. It is no longer chaos. It is training. Every moment of resistance is an opportunity to reinforce the new self. Every moment of choice is a vote for who you are becoming. The old self thrives on unconsciousness. The new self thrives on presence. Stay present. When you feel the urge to default, pause, just for a moment. That pause is enough. In that pause, you remember who is in control. You are not fighting yourself. You are redefining yourself. This distinction matters. Fighting creates exhaustion. Redefining creates alignment. You are aligning your actions with your values, your habits with your direction, your identity with your potential. That alignment feels unfamiliar at first, but it feels right. There will be moments when the old self feels louder than ever. This often happens just before a major shift. Patterns resist hardest before they break. Do not interpret intensity as defeat. Intensity is often the signal that transformation is near. Stay steady. The next phase will require decisive release. No negotiation, no delay. The moment is approaching. There is a moment in every real transformation when hesitation ends. Not because fear disappears, but because clarity becomes stronger than fear. You feel it now. The conflict has sharpened. The space between who you were and who you are becoming can no longer be ignored. This is the point of no return. The old self senses it. It grows louder. It brings urgency. It offers comfort one last time. It reminds you of familiarity, of ease, of staying where you are already accepted. It tries to convince you that letting go is risky. That voice in your head is not you. It is an echo of repetition, a reflex built from the past, and it survives only if you keep listening. You are evolving, it resists. This resistance is not a sign to slow down. It is a sign that separation is happening. The identity you are leaving behind is losing ground, and it will not surrender quietly. Stay present. You are not here to negotiate with the past. You are here to release it. Growth requires separation that is clean and decisive. Half measures prolong conflict. Compromise keeps old patterns alive. You cannot become someone new while clinging to what you were. This is not cruelty. It is clarity. Letting go does not mean forgetting. It means no longer obeying. It means understanding that the habits, thoughts, and reactions that once defined you do not get to decide your future. Identity is chosen, not inherited. You choose it when you act differently. You choose it when you interrupt a familiar response. You choose it when you stop repeating what no longer serves you. The choice is rarely dramatic. It often feels simple, quiet, internal, but it is final. This is the moment where momentum shifts. You may feel a surge of emotion, fear, relief, sadness, strength all at once. Let it move through you. Do not cling. Do not analyze. This is release. The old self depended on hesitation, on delay, on waiting. When you stop waiting, it loses leverage. Let it go. Not later. Now. Feel the intensity rise, the pressure, the clarity. This is the peak. Stay with it. Let it go. Not tomorrow. Now. You do not need to understand every step ahead. You do not need to feel ready. You only need to be willing to move forward without dragging the past behind you. This is where identity locks in. You are no longer defined by what you used to tolerate. You are no longer governed by familiar excuses. You are no longer ruled by patterns that once felt automatic. You are choosing deliberately. The moment you release the old self, space open, not empty possibility. The new self steps forward naturally. It does not force its way in. It was waiting for your permission. You feel steadier, not euphoric, grounded, certain. This certainty is not loud, it does not need validation, it is internal alignment. The internal war quiets, not because one side disappeared, because one side no longer has authority. You are not at war with yourself anymore. You are leading yourself. This is the real victory. From this point on, when the old voice appears, it will sound distant, less convincing. You will recognize it immediately, and recognition removes its power. You will still be challenged. Growth does not end here, but the foundation is set. You have crossed a threshold. You have chosen who survives. Take a breath. Feel the weight lift, the clarity settle, the direction solidify. The next chapter will demand that you protect this new identity, that you focus it, that you discipline it. You are ready for that. The old self has been released. The path forward is clear. Chapter 4. Silence, Solitude, and Inner Power. Silence is uncomfortable for most people, not because silence is empty, but because it is revealing. In silence, there is no distraction to hide behind, no noise to soften the truth, no performance to maintain. Silence removes the audience. And without an audience, you are left with yourself. This is where power begins. The world rewards noise. It encourages constant expression, constant reaction, constant visibility. Speak quickly, respond immediately, share everything, explain yourself, announce your intentions. This environment trains the mind to stay outward, scattered, dependent on feedback. But real strength is built inward. Loud lives are weak lives. Not because expression is wrong, but because constant noise fragments focus. When attention is spread thin, depth is lost. When everything is shared, nothing is protected. Power does not grow in exposure. It grows in containment. Silence is not absence. Silence is control. When you choose silence, you choose to conserve energy. You stop leaking intention. You stop feeding unnecessary reactions. You stop explaining yourself to people who are not invested in your growth. This feels strange at first. You may feel the urge to speak, to justify, to announce progress, to seek confirmation. That urge is habit. It is not necessity. Power grows quietly. Think of deep water. On the surface, it is calm, still, unimpressive to the untrained eye, but below it holds weight, pressure, force. Shallow water makes noise when disturbed. It splashes, it reacts. Deep water absorbs impact. This is the difference between surface-level strength and inner power. Inner power does not need to prove itself. It does not rush to be seen. It does not depend on validation. It moves with patience because it is grounded. Solitude plays a role here. Solitude is not isolation. It is intentional distance. It is choosing space so you can hear yourself think, so you can process without interference, so you can align without influence. Most people are never alone long enough to know what they actually want. Their desires are shaped by noise, by comparison, by expectation. Solitude strips that away. In solitude, you confront your real motivations, your fears, your impulses, your discipline. There is no performance in solitude, no image to maintain. That honesty is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Forging steel requires isolation, heat, pressure, time. Steel is not shaped in crowds. It is shaped in controlled conditions, alone with the elements that strengthen it. You are no different. When you reduce noise, clarity increases. You begin to notice where your energy goes, which interactions drain you, which conversations distract you, which environments pull you away from your standard. Not everyone deserves access to your goals. This is not arrogance, it is discernment. Goals are fragile in their early stages. They need protection. They need repetition without interruption. When you expose them too early, you invite opinion, doubt, projection, distraction. Even well-meaning voices can weaken focus. Silence protects momentum. When you move quietly, you move efficiently. You spend less time explaining and more time executing, less time reacting and more time building. Protect your energy. Energy is finite. Every conversation costs something. Every reaction drains something. Every explanation uses attention that could be directed inward. This does not mean you withdraw from the world completely. It means you choose intentionally. You decide where your energy goes. You stop wasting it on noise that does not serve your direction. At first, silence feels like restraint. Over time, it feels like relief. You stop feeling the need to respond to everything. You stop feeling pulled into unnecessary drama. You stop absorbing the emotional states of others. Your inner world becomes calmer, more stable. This calm is not weakness, it is strength under control. In silence, you begin to hear subtler signal. Intuition sharpens, awareness deepens, you recognize patterns faster, you see distractions before they hook you. Silence sharpens perception. Move in silence. This does not mean secrecy out of fear. It means strategy. It means allowing results to speak instead of words. It means letting progress accumulate without interference. When you move in silence, you are less affected by external opinion. You are not swayed by praise or criticism. You stay focused on execution. This builds resilience. Solitude strengthens this further. In solitude, you practice being self-directed. You do not rely on external stimulation to feel engaged. You become comfortable with stillness. Stillness builds patience. Patience builds endurance. Most people avoid solitude because it exposes unfinished work, unresolved thoughts, avoided decisions. You are choosing differently. You are choosing to face yourself. In that facing, power consolidates. You begin to feel more centered, less reactive, more intentional. You are no longer pulled by every stimulus. You choose your responses. This is inner power forming. It is quiet, but it is real. Stay with this feeling. Let it deepen. The next part will challenge you to use silence and solitude as active tools, not passive states. As silence becomes familiar, you begin to notice how much noise once dictated your direction. Opinions, expectations, reactions. None of them were neutral. Each one pulled at your attention, shaped your emotions, influenced your decisions. Noise does not always sound loud. Sometimes it sounds reasonable. Sometimes it sounds supportive. But if it distracts you from your path, it weakens you. This is why loud lives are weak lives. A loud life is not measured by volume alone. It is measured by how easily it is interrupted, how quickly it reacts, how dependent it is on external input. Loud lives are constantly responding instead of directing. They move fast but without depth. Silence changes that. When you reduce noise, you reclaim authorship over your inner world. You begin to notice that you think more clearly. You decide more deliberately. You move with less urgency and more intention. Urgency is often manufactured by noise. Silence reveals what truly matters. At first, this clarity can feel unsettling. Without constant stimulation, there is nowhere to hide from your thoughts. You may notice restlessness, the impulse to reach for distraction, to check, to scroll, to speak. These impulses are signal. They show you where your attention was being pulled unconsciously. Do not judge them. Observe them. Each time you resist the urge to fill silence, you strengthen your ability to stay present. Presence is power. It allows you to respond instead of react, to choose instead of default. Power grows quietly. Deep water does not rush. It holds. It absorbs. It remains steady under pressure. Shallow noise splashes at every disturbance. It overreacts. It dissipates quickly. You are learning to become deep water. This depth allows you to withstand pressure without losing direction. When challenges arise, you do not immediately speak. You do not rush to explain. You pause. You assess. You move with purpose. Silence gives you leverage. In conversations, silence allows you to listen fully, to understand before responding, to speak only when your words add value. This changes how others experience you. Your presence becomes heavier, more grounded, less predictable. You are no longer trying to be seen. You are becoming felt. Solitude reinforces this shift. Time alone is not empty time. It is processing time. It is integration time. It is where lessons settle and insights connect. Without solitude, growth remains shallow. You may consume ideas, but you do not embody them. Solitude is where embodiment happens. In solitude, you are not influenced by immediate feedback. You are not adjusting yourself to fit expectations. You are simply observing, refining, strengthening. This is where inner alignment is built. Many avoid solitude because it removes distraction. It exposes inconsistency. It reveals where discipline slips. But that exposure is not punishment. It is guidance. Solitude shows you where to focus. Forging steel requires isolation because strength requires uninterrupted pressure. Distractions weaken the process. The same is true for you. When you remove yourself from constant input, your mind consolidates. Your values sharpen. Your direction clarifies. Not everyone deserves access to your goals. This truth becomes clearer as you spend more time in silence. You realize that some conversations dilute your focus. Some relationships pull you back into old identity. Some environments encourage versions of you that no longer fit. This does not require confrontation. It requires boundary. Silence is a boundary. You do not owe everyone insight into your plan. You do not need to explain your discipline. You do not need approval to change. Protecting your goals is an act of respect toward them. Protect your energy. Energy is your most valuable resource. Without it, effort collapses, focus fades, discipline weakens. Every unnecessary explanation drains energy. Every emotional reaction costs energy. When you choose silence, you choose conservation. You stop leaking strength through words that do not serve your direction. This does not make you distant. It makes you intentional. You speak when it matters. You engage where it aligns. You withdraw where it distracts. This selectivity strengthens. Over time, you notice a shift in how you experience pressure. Noise once amplified stress. Silence absorbs it. Solitude allows you to process it without being overwhelmed. You begin to trust your inner guidance more, not because you reject input, but because you are no longer dependent on it. You listen selectively. You decide independently. This independence is inner power. Inner power does not need constant reinforcement. It is not fragile. It does not rise and fall with opinion. It is anchored in self-awareness and self-trust. As silence deepens, you become less reactive, less defensive, less eager to explain yourself. You are comfortable letting actions speak, comfortable letting time reveal results. Move in silence. Moving in silence means working without broadcasting, improving without announcing, preparing without seeking recognition. It means allowing progress to compound privately. This creates an advantage. You are not slowed by commentary. You are not distracted by comparison. You are not derailed by expectation. You are building quietly. Quiet building creates strong foundation. Foundations that do not crack under pressure. Foundations that support growth without collapse. This chapter is teaching you restraint, not suppression. Restraint is intentional control. It is choosing when and where to apply force. Silence is force controlled. Solitude is force refined. Together, they create inner power that cannot be shaken easily. Stay with this stillness. Let it stabilize you. The final part will challenge you to maintain silence and solitude as your strength grows, not just when it feels easy. As your inner power strengthens, silence stops feeling like a practice and starts feeling like a position. You no longer use it only when things are calm. You carry it with you when pressure rises, when attention pulls, when the world demands reaction. Silence becomes your advantage. This is where many people break their discipline. When progress begins to show, when confidence grows, when momentum builds, the temptation to speak returns, to announce, to explain, to prove, to seek acknowledgement. This is the test. Power that survives silence becomes unshakable. Power that seeks noise becomes fragile again. You are learning to hold strength without displaying it, to move forward without commentary, to let outcomes speak instead of intentions. This restraint is not fear, it is mastery. Deep water does not announce its depth. It reveals it only when tested. Until then, it remains still. You begin to understand that silence is not passive. It is active containment. It is choosing not to leak strength prematurely. It is refusing to dilute focus with unnecessary exposure. Every time you remain silent instead of reacting, you gain leverage. Every time you choose solitude instead of distraction, you sharpen your edge. Protect your energy. As your standards rise, so does the number of things that try to pull you off course. Invitations, opinions, requests, expectations. Not all of them are harmful, but not all of them are aligned. Silence gives you time to discern. You pause before committing. You listen before responding. You feel into decisions instead of rushing them. This slows you down in the best way. It prevents unnecessary damage. It keeps your direction clean. Solitude becomes a reset point, a place you return to recalibrate, to strip away external influence, to realign with your values. In solitude, you are not performing, you are refining. This refinement makes you dangerous in the best sense, calm under pressure, clear under stress, unmoved by noise. People may misunderstand your silence. They may project meaning onto it. Let them. Explanation is not required. Your responsibility is not to manage perception. It is to protect progress. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. As you grow, access becomes more valuable. You become more selective. You share less. You listen more. This selectivity is not distant, it is discipline. You begin to notice how much stronger you feel when you are not constantly talking about what you are doing, when you are not measuring yourself against others, when you are not reacting to every stimulus. Your focus deepens, your resolve hardens, your patience expands. Forging steel requires sustained heat and isolation. Remove the steel too early and it weakens. Expose it before it sets and it bends under pressure. The same is true for you. You are still forging. Silence protects the process. Solitude strengthens the structure. Move in silence. This command now carries weight. It is no longer advice. It is strategy. You move quietly because you understand the value of unseen work. You understand that preparation beats performance. That consistency beats attention. You are not hiding, you are building. And when the time comes to act, you will not need to announce it. The result will be undeniable. This is inner power fully formed. Not loud, not dramatic, but solid, reliable, grounded. You feel it in how you carry yourself, in how you respond, in how you decide. You are less reactive, less hurried, more deliberate. Silence has given you space to grow. Solitude has given you strength to hold that growth. You are no longer pulled outward so easily. Your center is strong, anchored, stable. This does not isolate you from the world. It prepares you to engage it from a position of control. As this chapter closes, recognize what you have built. You have learned to contain power, to refine it, to protect it. This will matter as demands increase, as responsibility grows, as pressure intensifies. The next chapter will require focus sharper than before, discipline applied under distraction, direction maintained amid noise. You have the foundation for that now. Stay quiet, stay grounded, stay ready. Chapter 5. Focus is a daily decision. Focus is not something you either have or do not have. It is something you choose, repeatedly, daily, often moment by moment. In a world designed to pull your attention apart, focus has become one of the rarest forms of discipline. And because it is rare, it is powerful. Your attention is your most valuable resource. More valuable than time, more valuable than effort. Because whatever you give your attention to grows. Thoughts grow, emotions grow, habits grow, outcomes grow. Attention is the fuel behind every result you create. The modern world understands this. That is why distraction is deliberate. Notifications, noise, endless input, competing signals all fighting for a slice of your awareness. Not because you are weak, because attention has value, and anything valuable attracts demand. If you do not choose where your attention goes, something else will choose for you. This is where most people lose without realizing it. They are busy, active, constantly stimulated but not focused. Their energy is spread thin across too many inputs. Nothing compounds, nothing deepens, nothing reaches its potential. Focus compounds faster than talent. Talent without focus is wasted capacity. Intelligence without focus is scattered effort. Potential without focus becomes frustration. You have seen this before, in others, in yourself. The difference between those who rise and those who stall is not ability, it is sustained attention. Focus allows effort to stack. It allows learning to deepen. It allows progress to build on itself instead of resetting each day. When focus is present, even small actions move you forward. When focus is absent, even massive effort dissipates. This is why focus must be trained. Training focus begins with awareness. You start noticing where your attention goes without permission, how often it shifts, how quickly it is pulled away, not to judge, to understand. Right now, notice your mind as you listen. Does it wander? Does it try to multitask? Does it reach for something else? This is not a flaw, it is a habit, and habits can be changed. One priority, executed daily. This principle cuts through complexity. You do not need to manage everything at once. You need to decide what matters most and give it your best attention consistently. Focus is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters with full presence. Most people fail here because they confuse urgency with importance. They react to what is loud instead of committing to what is meaningful. Focus requires you to resist that pull. Resistance is part of the process. When you attempt to focus, distraction will intensify, thoughts will arise, urges will surface, the mind will search for escape. This is normal. This is the training. Each time you bring your attention back, you strengthen it. Each return is a repetition. Over time, those repetitions build mental strength. Focus stops feeling forced and starts feeling natural. My mind is sharp. Say it internally, not as hope, as direction. Sharpness comes from use, from deliberate practice, from choosing presence over drift. You are not trying to eliminate distraction entirely. You are learning to recognize it quickly and disengage. The faster you notice, the less power it has. This is control. Control of attention creates clarity. Clarity creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Notice how focused moments feel different. Time slows. Effort feels lighter. You are fully engaged. This state is not accidental. It is cultivated. Distraction fragments you. Focus integrates you. When you focus, your thoughts align. Your emotions stabilize. Your actions become intentional. This integration is powerful. It allows you to operate with precision. You begin to see why focus compounds faster than talent. Focus directs talent. Without direction, talent spins in place. The challenge now is to make focus a daily decision, not something you wait to feel, something you commit to, even when distracted, even when tired, even when the world pulls. I choose focus. Let that settle. This choice will be tested constantly. That is not a problem. That is the training environment. Stay present. The next part will push you to actively eliminate distraction in real time. Focus becomes real when it is tested, not in quiet moments, in busy ones, in moments when your attention is pulled in multiple directions at once, when demands stack, when distractions feel justified. This is where focus shifts from concept to practice. Distraction is not accidental. It is engineered. Systems are built to interrupt you, to fragment your attention, to keep you reacting instead of directing. This does not make you powerless. It makes focus a responsibility. Responsibility begins with recognition. You start to notice how often your attention is hijacked. A sound, a thought, an impulse to check, an urge to respond immediately. These interruptions feel small, harmless, but they add up. They break momentum. They reset your mental state. They prevent depth. Depth is where progress compounds. Focus requires you to defend your attention, not aggressively, deliberately. You decide in advance what deserves access. You stop treating every signal as urgent. You create space between stimulus and response. This space is power. The listener challenge begins here. Mentally, eliminate distractions in real time. This does not mean removing everything from your environment. It means removing attention from what does not matter. You notice a distraction arise. You name it. Then you disengage, calmly, without frustration. Notice how often distraction is internal. A thought pulling you away, a memory surfacing, a worry trying to take control. External noise matters less once you master internal redirection. Each time you bring your attention back, you strengthen your focus. This is the repetition that builds sharpness. My mind is sharp. Sharpness is not speed. It is precision. It is the ability to stay with one thing long enough for it to change you, for learning to deepen, for effort to produce results. When focus deepens, time behaves differently. You are not rushing. You are immersed. This immersion creates quality. Quality creates outcomes. Most people never experience this consistently. They skim, they sample, they switch. They wonder why nothing sticks. Focus is the missing element. One priority, executed daily. This simplifies everything. You do not need to chase multiple outcomes at once. You need to identify the one thing that moves you forward and give it your best attention. When that is complete, you rest. When it is not, you return. This approach removes overwhelm. Overwhelm comes from divided attention. Clarity comes from commitment. Your mind will resist this simplicity. It will try to complicate. It will suggest multitasking. It will argue that everything is important. Everything is not. Importance is chosen. Choosing one priority requires courage. It means letting some things wait. It means accepting that not everything will be addressed. This discomfort is temporary. The progress is lasting. As you practice this, you notice a change in your internal state. Less anxiety, less urgency, more steadiness. Focus calms the nervous system because it removes indecision. Indecision drains energy. Focus restores it. You begin to trust your ability to stay with tasks, to complete what you start, to resist the pull of novelty. This trust builds confidence that does not depend on excitement. I choose focus. Repeat it internally as a command, not a wish. Distraction will still appear, that is expected. The difference now is speed of recovery. You notice sooner, you return faster. The gap between distraction and refocus shrinks. This is mastery developing. You are training attention like a muscle. Each return strengthens, each sustained period builds endurance. Over time, focus becomes easier to access, not because the world is quieter, because you are stronger. Notice how this affects your thinking. Thoughts become clearer, more ordered, less scattered. You solve problems more effectively. You retain information better. You execute fewer errors. This is the compound effect of focus. Talent gives you capacity. Focus gives you output. As you eliminate distractions mentally, you begin to see how much energy was being wasted. Wasted on reaction, wasted on comparison, wasted on unnecessary engagement. That energy is now available for creation. Creation requires focus. Whether you are building skills, projects, relationships, or identity, focus is the mechanism. Without it, effort leaks. With it, effort stacks. You are not trying to be perfect here. You are training consistency, returning again and again, calmly, firmly. This calm firmness is important. Frustration weakens focus. Acceptance strengthens it. You acknowledge distraction. You redirect. No drama. This is discipline applied to attention. As part 2 closes, feel the sharpening happening, the increased awareness, the growing control. You are not fighting distraction. You are outgrowing it. The final part will push this focus under pressure. When stakes rise, when urgency increases, when distraction becomes more persuasive. Stay ready. There is a moment when focus stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like identity. You are no longer constantly reminding yourself to concentrate. You are no longer fighting every distraction. You are simply aligned. Your attention knows where it belongs because you have trained it. This is where focus becomes dependable. Dependable focus changes how you move through pressure. When demands increase, you do not scatter. When urgency rises, you do not panic. You return to your priority. You execute. You move forward. This reliability is rare. Most people collapse under pressure because their attention has never been trained to stay. It fractures. It seeks relief. It looks for escape. You have practiced something different. You have practiced staying. Staying with the task. Staying with the moment. Staying with the decision you made. This staying builds depth. Depth builds results. Distraction will not disappear as you grow. In fact, it often increases. More options, more opportunities, more noise. This is why focus must be protected more aggressively as your capacity expands. Protection does not mean isolation. It means prioritization. You know what matters. You return to it. You allow everything else to wait. This discipline feels calm because it removes inner conflict. You are not torn between possibilities. You are committed to execution. I choose focus. Say it again. Let it anchor you. Focus creates a quiet confidence. You trust your ability to engage deeply, to complete meaningful work, to make progress even when conditions are imperfect. This trust removes hesitation. You begin faster. You finish stronger. You waste less energy doubting your capacity. Your mind is sharp because you use it deliberately. Sharpness shows up in how you think, how you decide, how you respond. You are not rushing. You are precise. You are not overwhelmed. You are clear. One priority, executed daily. This principle now feels natural. You see how it simplifies life, how it directs effort, how it creates momentum. You no longer chase everything. You commit to what matters. This commitment compounds. Days stack, weeks stack. Progress becomes visible, not just externally but internally. You feel more capable, more centered, more in control. This internal progress is the real reward. Focus has trained your mind to stay present, to resist distraction, to return quickly. These skills extend beyond work. They shape how you listen, how you relate, how you handle stress. Presence improves everything it touches. You are no longer scattered. You are integrated. As this chapter closes, recognize what you have built. You have trained attention. You have reclaimed control. You have chosen focus in a world designed to steal it. This choice sets you apart. The next chapter will ask you to apply this focus under discomfort, to stay steady when effort becomes painful, to maintain direction when delay feels tempting. You are prepared for that. Stay sharp. Chapter 6, Pain, Delay, and the Price of Greatness. Pain has been misunderstood for most of your life. You were taught to avoid it, to soften it, to escape it as quickly as possible. Pain was framed as a signal that something was wrong, something to eliminate, something to fear. And because of that, many people never discover what pain is actually for. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the entry fee. Every meaningful transformation demands payment, not in comfort, not in ease, in effort, in patience, in discomfort that stretches you beyond what you already are. The question is not whether pain will be present. The question is whether you will use it or waste it. Greatness is not free. This truth is uncomfortable because it removes fantasy. It removes shortcuts. It removes the idea that you can become more without giving something up. Pain exposes the cost clearly, and most people turn away at that point. Leaders do not. Delayed gratification separates leaders from followers, not intelligence, not luck, the ability to wait, to endure, to invest effort now for reward later. This ability is rare because it demands trust in yourself, trust that your effort will matter, trust that your patience will pay off. Comfort offers immediate relief. It soothes the moment, it quiets discomfort, but comfort always sends the bill to the future. What feels easy now becomes expensive later. Missed opportunities, weak habits, fragile confidence. Comfort steals tomorrow. You have felt this before. The moment when avoiding effort felt good and the regret arrived later. The moment when delay seemed harmless and the cost appeared quietly over time. This is how comfort operates. It never demands payment up front. Pain does the opposite. Pain demands payment now, effort now, discomfort now. But pain, when used correctly, strengthens. It builds tolerance, it expands capacity, it hardens resolve. Pain used correctly becomes strength. This is not about suffering for its own sake. It is about choosing the discomfort that leads somewhere instead of the comfort that leads nowhere. There is a difference. One builds, one erodes. Right now, notice how your body reacts to the idea of pain, tightness, resistance, a desire to pull away. That reaction is natural. Pain challenges identity. It threatens the version of you that prefers safety. But safety does not create greatness. Growth begins at the edge of what you can tolerate, not beyond it, at it. That edge is uncomfortable by definition, but each time you approach it deliberately, it moves. What once felt impossible becomes manageable. What once felt heavy becomes familiar. This is how strength is built. Delayed gratification requires you to hold tension without immediate relief, to keep moving without instant reward, to trust the process when outcomes are not yet visible. This is where most people stop, not because they cannot endure pain, because they cannot endure uncertainty. Uncertainty combined with effort is difficult. You are working without guarantee. You are investing without immediate proof. This is where leadership develops. Leaders act without certainty. They move forward because they believe in their capacity to adapt, not because they are promised success. Pain tests that belief. When pain appears, it asks a question. Will you retreat or will you adapt? Will you numb or will you learn? Will you quit or will you continue? Each answer shapes you. You are not here because you enjoy pain. You are here because you understand its value. Pain is feedback. It shows you where you are weak, where you are untrained, where growth is required. Ignoring pain keeps weakness hidden. Using pain exposes it so it can be addressed. This reframing changes everything. You stop asking how to avoid pain and start asking how to use. You stop treating discomfort as danger and start treating it as instruction. This creates calm under pressure. Calm does not mean the absence of discomfort. It means the absence of panic. You feel pain, but you do not collapse. You feel resistance, but you do not run. This is emotional strength. Pain will appear in many forms: fatigue, frustration, doubt, boredom, delay. These are not signs to stop. They are signals that you are in the training zone. Stay present with them. When you feel the urge to quit, pause, not to negotiate, to observe. Quitting often feels urgent, like relief is just on the other side. That urgency is part of the test. If you wait, it passes. Delayed gratification is built in these moments. You delay relief. You delay comfort. You choose to stay. Stay. This staying is where identity shifts. The old version of you seeks escape. The new version seeks growth. Each time you stay, the new version strengthens. You are not being punished by pain. You are being shaped. There is a reason greatness is rare, Not because people lack potential, because most are unwilling to pay the price consistently. They pay once, maybe twice, then they stop. Greatness requires repeated payment. This payment does not feel heroic. It feels ordinary. It feels like showing up when tired, continuing when bored, persisting when progress is slow. This is where pain becomes productive. Productive pain builds capacity. It expands your threshold. It teaches you that you can endure more than you thought. That endurance builds confidence that no external validation can provide. Confidence earned through pain is stable. It does not disappear when conditions change. You begin to trust yourself differently. You know that when things get hard, you do not immediately retreat. You know you can stay with discomfort long enough to learn from it. That trust is powerful. This chapter is not asking you to seek pain recklessly. It is asking you to stop avoiding the pain that leads to growth, to stop numbing it, to stop labeling it as failure. Pain is part of the process. Delay is part of the process. The price is non-negotiable. As you move forward, this truth will be tested. The pressure will increase. The urge to quit will appear. The temptation to choose comfort will feel convincing. Stay aware. The peak is coming. As you continue forward, pain begins to change its tone. It no longer feels like a threat. It feels like a companion, not because it is pleasant, but because it is familiar. You recognize it now. You know what it means. You understand why it appears. Pain shows up when you are doing something that matters. This understanding removes fear. You stop interpreting discomfort as a warning sign. You start interpreting it as confirmation. Confirmation that you are stretching beyond what is confirmation that you are investing in something that requires growth. Delay works the same way. Delay tests patience. It tests belief. It tests whether you are committed to the outcome or just the idea of it. Many people love the idea of greatness. Few are willing to wait for it. Waiting without losing discipline is one of the hardest skills to build. Delayed gratification separates leaders from followers because it requires emotional control. You must regulate frustration. You must manage doubt. You must continue without immediate evidence. This demands inner strength. Followers wait for motivation. Leaders rely on commitment. When results do not arrive quickly, the mind begins to question the effort. It asks whether the work is worth it, whether the sacrifice matters, whether comfort would be smarter. These questions are not new. They have ended countless journeys before they began. You are learning not to answer them impulsively. Comfort is persuasive during delay. It promises relief. It suggests rest. It frames quitting as self-care. But comfort does not see the long view. It cares about immediate sensation, not future consequence. Comfort steals tomorrow by borrowing from it quietly. Every time you choose comfort over effort, you make tomorrow heavier, less prepared, less capable, less confident. The cost does not show up immediately. It accumulates. And by the time it is felt, the habit is already formed. Pain demands payment up front. Comfort hides the bill. This is why pain, used correctly, becomes strength. It builds resilience in real time. It conditions you to endure uncertainty. It trains you to stay engaged even when the reward is distant. Endurance is not passive. It is active restraint. You restrain the urge to quit. You restrain the desire for immediate relief. You restrain the impulse to abandon the process. That restraint builds discipline. Discipline built this way is not fragile. It does not depend on excitement. It does not collapse under pressure. It has been tested by delay and strengthened by it. You begin to notice a shift in how you experience effort. Effort no longer feels like punishment. It feels like investment. Each difficult moment adds something to you, something internal, something lasting. This changes your relationship with challenge. Challenges no longer feel personal. They feel procedural, something to work through, not something to escape. This mindset keeps you moving forward even when progress is slow. Slow progress is still progress. Delay does not mean failure. It means incubation. Growth often happens beneath the surface before it becomes visible. Roots form before results appear. Strength develops internally before it shows externally. This is where many people lose patience. They judge progress by visibility instead of substance. You are learning to judge it by consistency. Consistency through pain creates momentum that cannot be faked. You begin to trust the process because you trust yourself to stay in it. This trust reduces anxiety. You are no longer constantly checking for proof. You are focused on execution. Execution is where power lies. Pain also reveals priorities. When things become difficult, what you value becomes clear. You see what you are willing to endure for, what you are willing to sacrifice for. Pain clarifies commitment. If something is not worth discomfort, it is not worth pursuing seriously. This clarity is useful. It filters distractions. It removes half-hearted pursuits. It directs energy toward what matters most. Pain simplifies. As you move through delay, you may notice moments of doubt. Thoughts questioning whether you are capable, whether the effort will pay off. These thoughts are part of the process. They do not require elimination. They require management. You acknowledge them, then you return to the work. Returning to the work despite doubt builds mental toughness. Mental toughness is not bravado. It is reliability under strain, the ability to continue without certainty. This ability changes how you see yourself. You stop identifying as someone who tries. You begin identifying as someone who persists. This identity shift is subtle but powerful. Persistence compounds. Pain teaches you where your limits were. Staying teaches you how to expand them. Each time you remain present through discomfort, your tolerance increases. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What once felt exhausting becomes familiar. This expansion is strength. Strength built this way does not disappear when circumstances change. It travels with you. It becomes part of who you are. You are no longer surprised by difficulty. You expect it. You prepare for it. You meet it with steadiness instead of shock. This steadiness creates confidence. Confidence earned through endurance is grounded. It does not need reinforcement. It has been proven under pressure. As this part of the chapter continues, recognize the shift happening inside you. You are no longer asking how to avoid pain. You are asking how to move through it effectively. That question changes everything. The next part will take you to the peak, the moment when quitting feels closest, the moment when staying changes you permanently. Stay ready. Do not look away. The moment is approaching. There is a moment when pain stops being theoretical and becomes personal, not imagined, not anticipated, real. It shows up in the body, in the breath, in the mind telling you to stop. This is the moment most people never talk about. The moment when quitting feels reasonable, when relief feels deserved, when delay has stretched long enough to justify retreat. This is the moment that decides everything. Not talent, not desire, not intention. This moment. You are here now. Pain tightens. Fatigue weighs down your thoughts. Progress feels slow or invisible. The voice of comfort grows louder. It sounds logical. It sounds caring. It tells you you've done enough, that you can come back later. That rest would be smarter. This voice has ended more transformations than failure ever has. Stay. This is not punishment. This is the price. The price of becoming someone who does not break when it hurts. Don't quit. Quitting feels like release, but it is temporary. It solves the discomfort of the moment while locking in the limitations of the past. Staying feels heavier now, but it opens something permanent inside you. This is where you change, not when things feel aligned, not when motivation is high, not when the path is clear. You change here, under pressure, inside discomfort, in the absence of guarantee. Stay. Do not negotiate. Do not analyze. Do not dramatize. Just stay. Pain at this level is not asking you to stop. It is asking you to upgrade, to shed an old threshold, to move beyond the version of you that needed comfort to continue. This pain is a gate. On one side is the person who retreats when it gets hard. On the other is the person who endures and adapts. The difference is not strength. It is choice. Don't quit. Quitting teaches your mind that pain is a stop sign. Staying teaches your mind that pain is a signal you can handle. Once your mind learns this, its power over you changes. Fear loses authority. Doubt loses volume. Resistance loses control. You realize something crucial. You are not fragile. You have been tested here, and you are still here. This realization does not feel explosive. It feels solid, grounded, quietly confident. You no longer wonder if you can endure difficulty. You know you can. That knowledge stays with you. Pain used correctly becomes strength because it leaves evidence behind. Evidence that you stayed. Evidence that you adapted. Evidence that you did not collapse when relief was an option. That evidence becomes identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who hopes things will work out. You see yourself as someone who keeps going until they do. Delay no longer scares you. You understand now that delay is not denial. It is preparation. It is pressure building capacity beneath the surface. Leaders are not those who avoid delay. They are those who remain disciplined inside it. Followers look for signs. Leaders look inward. Comfort will continue to appear in future moments. It will offer easier paths, faster exits, softer options. You will recognize it now, not as kindness, as temptation. Comfort steals tomorrow by convincing you that today is all that matters. You know better now. You understand that every time you stay, tomorrow gets stronger, more prepared, more capable, more resilient. This understanding rewires your relationship with effort. Effort becomes familiar, expected, manageable. You no longer need to hype yourself up. You no longer need to wait for perfect conditions. You move because movement is who you are now. Stay. Don't quit. This is where you change. Let those words settle into you. You have crossed something here, something internal, a line most people never cross because they turn back when it hurts. You did not. And because you didn't, the price you paid has already begun to return value. Not in applause, not in instant results, in strength, real strength. As this chapter closes, recognize what pain has given you. It has stripped away illusion. It has removed entitlement. It has replaced comfort-seeking with capability. You are harder to stop now, harder to distract, harder to break. The next chapter will ask you to lead yourself with this strength, to apply it consistently, to turn endurance into authority. You are ready. Stay steady. Chapter 7. Building the leader within. Leadership is often misunderstood as something external, a title, a position, a role granted by others. But real leadership begins long before anyone else is involved. It begins in private moments, in decisions no one sees, in standards you uphold without supervision. You do not become a leader when others follow you. Others follow you when you have learned to lead yourself. Self-command precedes influence. If you cannot direct your own actions, emotions, and habits, you cannot reliably direct anything else. Influence without self-command is unstable. It fluctuates with mood. It collapses under pressure. Leadership begins with internal order. This is not glamorous work. There is no applause for waking up disciplined, no recognition for showing up consistently, no reward for doing the right thing when it would be easier to avoid it. And yet, this is exactly where leadership is forged. Leaders act without applause. They do not wait to be noticed. They do not require validation to stay consistent. They operate from principle, not performance. This creates reliability, and reliability is the foundation of trust. Consistency creates trust. Trust is not built through intensity. It is built through repetition, through doing what you said you would do, through showing up when it is inconvenient, through maintaining standards when no one is watching. These repetitions shape your internal identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who remains steady, someone who can be relied on. This self-trust is powerful. When you trust yourself, your decisions become firmer. You hesitate less. You second-guess less. You move with calm authority because you know you will back yourself up. This authority is internal before it is external. Lead yourself first. This command is simple, but it is demanding. It asks you to take responsibility for your inner world, your focus, your discipline, your reactions, your effort. No one else can do this work for you. Leading yourself means setting standards and honoring them. It means deciding who you are going to be under pressure. It means choosing values and living them consistently. This does not require perfection. It requires honesty. Honesty about effort. Honesty about discipline. Honesty about where you are avoiding responsibility. Self-leadership begins with awareness and is maintained by action. You begin to notice where you compromise, where you let small things slide, where you justify behavior that does not align with who you want to be. These moments matter. They are training moments. Every time you choose alignment over convenience, you strengthen leadership within. Leadership is built quietly. It does not announce itself. It does not demand attention. It simply shows up again and again until it becomes undeniable. Stand firm. Firmness does not mean rigidity. It means stability. It means having a core that does not collapse under pressure. It means staying anchored when circumstances shift. This firmness comes from clarity. You know what matters to you. You know what you will tolerate. You know what you will not compromise. Clarity removes confusion. Confusion weakens leadership. When you are clear, your actions align naturally. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop drifting. You decide and you execute. This internal execution creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates presence. People feel this presence. Even if they cannot explain it, they sense reliability. They sense steadiness. They sense leadership before you ever speak. But again, this chapter is not about others. It is about you. You are building the leader within. This requires patience. Leadership does not appear overnight. It is built through consistent self-command, through daily choices that reinforce the same identity. You will be tested. Pressure will rise. Fatigue will appear. Motivation will fade. Leadership shows up most clearly in those moments. Do you follow through when it is difficult? Do you hold your standards when no one is watching? Do you remain steady when conditions are not ideal? These questions shape the leader you are becoming. As you practice self-leadership, you begin to notice a shift. You take ownership more naturally. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop waiting for permission. You act. This action is not reckless. It is deliberate. It is grounded in values and guided by discipline. This is the foundation. The next part will deepen this internal leadership. It will challenge you to maintain consistency over time and to trust the process, even when results are not immediate. Stay with this. As self-leadership strengthens, you begin to feel a shift in how you carry responsibility. Responsibility no longer feels like pressure placed on you from the outside. It feels like ownership rising from within. You stop asking who should act and start asking what needs to be done. That question alone separates leaders from followers. Followers wait for direction. Leaders generate it. This does not mean leaders have all the answers. It means they do not freeze in uncertainty. They move forward with what they know and adjust as they learn. This forward motion builds credibility, first with themselves, then with others. Consistency creates trust because it removes doubt. When you are consistent, your mind relaxes. It stops questioning whether you will follow through. It stops bargaining. It stops preparing excuses. It expects action. That expectation becomes normal. Normal behavior becomes identity. This is how leadership settles into you, not through dramatic declarations, through quiet repetition. You begin to notice that your standards no longer feel negotiable, not because you are forcing discipline, but because discipline has become familiar. You expect more from yourself naturally. You do not tolerate what you used to excuse. This evolution is subtle, but it is powerful. You no longer need external pressure to stay aligned. You apply pressure internally, calmly, consistently. You do not rush. You do not threaten yourself. You simply act. Lead yourself first. This command grows deeper. Leading yourself means regulating emotion without suppressing it. You feel frustration, but you do not let it dictate behavior. You feel fatigue, but you do not let it determine commitment. You feel doubt, but you do not let it decide direction. This regulation is strength. Many people confuse emotional expression with honesty. Leadership requires emotional responsibility. You acknowledge what you feel, then you choose how you respond. This ability creates stability under pressure. Stability is attractive. It builds trust without effort. You begin to see how leadership is less about charisma and more about reliability, less about intensity and more about endurance. People who endure become pillars. Pillars support others naturally. But again, this is not about impressing anyone. It is about becoming someone you can rely on. Stand firm. Firmness shows up when you do not abandon your standards under stress, when you do not compromise values for convenience, when you do not change direction because it gets uncomfortable. This firmness is not stubbornness. It is alignment. You know why you are doing what you are doing. That reason anchors. Without this anchor, leadership collapses under pressure. As you practice standing firm, you notice fewer internal conflicts. You are no longer debating whether to act. You already decided. Decision removes friction. Friction drains energy. Clarity restores it. With clarity, your actions become cleaner. You waste less effort on indecision. You move forward even when outcomes are uncertain. This movement builds confidence that does not depend on results. Confidence built this way is internal. It does not fluctuate with praise or criticism. It is steady. Leaders act without applause. You are learning to value execution over recognition, to value alignment over validation. This frees you. You no longer need others to confirm your direction. This freedom strengthens leadership. You may notice that as you become more internally consistent, external noise affects you less. Opinions lose influence. Distractions lose pull. You are anchored. Anchored people move differently. They listen more than they speak. They observe before reacting. They choose timing carefully. This restraint adds weight to their actions. Leadership energy is calm. Calm is not passive. Calm is controlled intensity. It allows you to respond effectively rather than react emotionally. This calm presence grows as you continue leading yourself well. You begin to see that leadership is not about control over others. It is about control over self. When self-control is present, influence follows naturally. Influence is earned through trust. Trust is earned through consistency. This loop reinforces itself. Consistency builds trust. Trust builds confidence. Confidence reinforces consistency. This is the cycle of leadership. As you continue, there will be moments when progress feels slow, when effort feels unnoticed, when results lag behind input. These moments test leadership. Do you remain consistent when feedback is absent? Do you uphold standards without reinforcement? Do you continue acting without immediate reward? This is where leaders separate themselves. Most people drift when results are delayed. Leaders remain anchored. They understand that growth compounds quietly before it becomes visible. This patience is part of leadership. Patience is not waiting passively. It is acting consistently without demanding immediate proof. You are building that capacity now. You are becoming someone who does not need constant confirmation to continue. Someone who trusts the process because you trust your discipline. This trust simplifies life. You stop overthinking. You stop chasing reassurance. You act, evaluate, adjust, and continue. This rhythm is sustainable. As part 2 closes, feel the solidity forming inside you, the steadiness, the reduced internal noise, the growing sense of authority over your actions. You are not performing leadership. You are embodying it. The final part will bring this internal leadership into sharper focus, preparing you to carry it forward under greater responsibility and pressure. Stay firm. There comes a point when leadership is no longer something you practice. It becomes something you inhabit. You do not wake up wondering whether you will lead yourself today. You expect it. You move from intention to execution without hesitation. This is when leadership becomes stable. Stable leadership is quiet. You are no longer driven by urgency or fear. You are driven by standards. Standards remove chaos. They create structure, and structure allows you to operate with clarity even when pressure increases. You feel this now, a deeper sense of responsibility, not heavy, grounded. You understand that your actions shape your future whether you pay attention or not. Leadership is choosing to pay attention. Lead yourself first. This command now feels less like instruction and more like identity. You lead yourself when no one is watching, when outcomes are uncertain, when effort is required without recognition. This is where leadership becomes unshakable. You no longer outsource discipline to motivation. You no longer wait for ideal conditions. You act because acting is who you are. This removes friction. You move cleanly, deliberately. Stand firm. Firmness now shows up in restraint. You do not overreact. You do not chase every opportunity. You do not abandon your path for short-term comfort. You stay anchored in what matters. This anchoring creates authority. Authority is not dominance. It is presence. People feel it when someone is internally aligned, when actions match words, when effort remains consistent. But even if no one ever noticed, this leadership would still matter, because it has already changed how you experience yourself. You trust yourself. Trust in yourself transforms decision-making. You decide faster. You recover quicker. You do not spiral after setbacks. You learn and continue. This resilience is leadership in motion. Leaders do not avoid mistakes. They move through them without losing direction. This ability to stay oriented under disruption is rare, and it is built exactly the way you have built it, through self-command, through consistency, through acting without applause. Applause is external. Leadership is internal. When applause disappears, many stop. You do not. You continue because your standard does not depend on attention. It depends on alignment. Alignment feels steady. You are no longer divided internally. You do not say one thing and do another. You do not make promises you do not intend to keep. You live closer to your values. Living this way reduces internal conflict. It frees mental energy. You are not constantly correcting course. You are already on it. This is calm confidence. Confidence that does not need to announce itself. Confidence that does not rush. Confidence that remains intact under pressure. You are becoming someone others can rely on because you are someone you can rely on. This is the core of leadership. As responsibility grows, you will not feel overwhelmed. You will feel prepared. You have built the internal systems required to carry weight without collapsing. You know how to regulate emotion. You know how to maintain discipline. You know how to stay steady when results lag. These skills compound. The leader within you is no longer fragile. It has been tested by fatigue, by delay, by discomfort. It has remained intact. Take a moment to recognize this. You are not imagining progress. You are embodying it. The next chapters will push you to apply this leadership outward, to influence through example, to hold focus under pressure, to carry responsibility without losing yourself. You have the foundation for that now. Stay grounded, stay consistent, stay firm. The leader within is awake. Chapter 8, Confidence is trained, not given. Confidence is one of the most misunderstood qualities in the world. It is often treated like a gift, something you either have or do not have, something reserved for a select few. People look at confidence as if it were personality or luck, as if some are born with it and others must live without it. This belief is false. Confidence is not given, it is built. No one arrives confident. What you see in confident people is not natural ease. It is accumulated evidence. Evidence created through action, through repetition, through keeping promises to themselves long enough that doubt loses authority. Confidence is evidence-based. When you lack evidence, doubt speaks loudly. When evidence accumulates, doubt becomes quiet. This is not about positive thinking. It is about experience. The mind believes what it repeatedly sees you do. Most people try to think their way into confidence. They wait to feel ready. They wait to feel certain. They wait for fear to disappear. And while they wait, nothing changes. Courage does not come first. Action does. Courage comes after action, not before. This is the reversal that changes everything. You do not act because you are confident. You become confident because you act. Each action you take despite uncertainty becomes proof. Proof that you can move forward without perfect conditions. Proof that fear does not control you. Confidence grows from follow-through. Every promise you keep to yourself strengthens certainty. Every promise you break weakens it. This is not punishment. It is cause and effect. The mind tracks consistency. It notices patterns. It adjusts belief accordingly. Keeping promises to yourself builds certainty. This is where confidence training begins. Not in grand gesture, in small commitment, small decisions you honor even when no one is watching. You say you will do something. You do it. That loop matters. Over time, the mind stops questioning whether you will follow through. It expects it. That expectation becomes confidence. Most people underestimate the damage of broken promises to themselves. They treat them lightly. They excuse them. They rationalize them. But the mind does not forget. Each broken promise becomes evidence against you. This is not meant to discourage you. It is meant to empower you. You can rebuild trust with yourself. Trust is not rebuilt through words. It is rebuilt through behavior, consistent, repeated, undeniable. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be reliable. Reliable effort builds confidence faster than talent ever could. You begin to see this clearly now. Confidence is not bravado. It is familiarity with your own reliability. It is knowing how you respond under pressure because you have tested yourself there. Fear does not disappear as confidence grows. Fear changes shape. It becomes information instead of command. You feel it, but you do not stop because of it. This is courage in practice. Courage is not loud. It is quiet movement forward despite hesitation. It is the decision to act while doubt is present. That decision is repeated until it becomes normal. Normal behavior becomes identity. This is how confidence becomes stable. Say it internally, I trust myself. At first, this may feel aspirational. That is fine. Trust grows with evidence. You are beginning the process. You build confidence by doing difficult things badly at first, by starting before you feel ready, by allowing imperfection without quitting. This process humbles the ego but strengthens the core. You stop chasing the image of confidence and start building the substance of it. Substance lasts. When you act consistently, your posture changes, your voice steadies, your decisions become firmer, not because you are trying to appear confident, but because you are no longer guessing about your capacity. You have proof. Confidence built this way does not collapse under criticism. It does not disappear when things go wrong. It has been trained under real conditions. Training requires exposure. You expose yourself to uncertainty, to discomfort, to moments where you could quit. And each time you do not, confidence deepens. I follow through. Say it, let it be a standard, not a slogan. Following through does not mean forcing yourself beyond reason. It means honoring your word within realistic boundaries. It means choosing consistency over intensity. You are not here to impress anyone. You are here to become someone you trust. That trust is the foundation of confidence. This chapter is not asking you to feel confident today. It is asking you to train it, day by day, action by action, promise by promise. The next part will push this further. It will challenge the illusion of confidence even more deeply and show you how certainty is forged under pressure. Stay with this. The work is beginning. As you continue training confidence, you begin to see the illusion more clearly. The illusion that confident people never doubt, that they never hesitate, that they never feel fear. This illusion collapses the moment you look closer. Confidence is not the absence of doubt. It is the ability to move while doubt is present. Doubt is not the enemy. Avoidance is. Most people allow doubt to delay action. They wait for certainty that never arrives. They believe confidence should come first, and because it does not, they remain stuck. You are learning something different now. You are learning that certainty is created through motion. Action clarifies. When you act even imperfectly, information appears. You learn what works. You learn what does not. You learn what you can handle. This learning builds familiarity. Familiarity reduces fear. Reduced fear increases confidence. This cycle only begins with action. Confidence is evidence-based, and evidence is created through experience. There is no shortcut around this. No affirmation can replace it. No visualization can substitute for it. The mind believes what it sees you do repeatedly. This is why keeping promises to yourself matters so deeply. Every promise kept adds weight to your internal credibility. Every promise broken subtracts from it. Over time, this balance becomes your self-image. If you want to trust yourself more, you must give yourself reasons to. This does not require dramatic commitments. In fact, small commitments are more effective. Small promises are easier to keep, easier to repeat, easier to turn into habits. Habits are powerful because they operate without negotiation. When something becomes habitual, confidence stabilizes. You stop questioning whether you will act. You already know the answer. I follow through. This affirmation now carries evidence behind it. Each time you follow through, it becomes less of a statement and more of a fact. Facts do not need hype. They stand on their own. As this training continues, you begin to notice a shift in how you approach challenges. You no longer ask, "Can I do this?" You ask, "How do I do this?" That shift is subtle, but it changes everything. How invites problem solving. Can I invites doubt. Confidence transforms question. You also notice that fear begins to lose its power to stop you. It still appears. It still signals risk, but it no longer decides. Fear becomes a data point, not a command. This is maturity. Courage comes after action, not before. And the more often you act despite fear, the more courage becomes familiar. Familiar courage becomes confidence. You are training your nervous system as much as your mind. Each time you move through discomfort without retreating, your system adapts. What once triggered panic now triggers focus. What once caused hesitation now causes preparation. This adaptation is physical, real, lasting. You stop being surprised by yourself. You know how you respond under stress because you have been there before. This knowledge creates calm. Calm is confidence expressed quietly. You no longer need to convince yourself that you are capable. You have proof. You have history. You have experience. Confidence built this way does not need to be announced. It is felt internally. It shows up in posture, in pacing, in decision-making. You become less reactive, less defensive, less eager to explain yourself. You trust your process enough to let outcomes speak. This trust reduces noise. As your confidence grows, you also become more honest with yourself. You stop pretending things are easy when they are not. You stop inflating your ability. You assess clearly. This honesty strengthens confidence because it is grounded in reality. False confidence collapses under pressure. Trained confidence adapts. You understand now why confidence must be trained. It is not a mood. It is a capacity built through repeated exposure to challenge and repeated follow-through. You are no longer chasing confidence. You are building it. This shift removes desperation. You are patient with the process. You know confidence is coming because you are creating the conditions for it. I trust myself. Say it again and notice how it feels now compared to earlier. Less forced, more settled. That change is not imaginary. It is evidence accumulating. The final part of this chapter will lock this understanding in. It will push you to claim confidence not as a feeling, but as an identity forged through consistency. Stay ready. There is a moment when confidence stops feeling like something you are trying to build and starts feeling like something you stand on. Not excitement, not hype, stability. You are no longer asking yourself whether you can handle what is ahead. You already know how you respond when things get difficult. That knowledge changes how you move. Confidence at this stage is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not need to dominate a room. It shows up as steadiness, as composure, as the absence of panic when pressure rises. This is trained confidence. You did not think your way here. You acted your way here through small promises kept, through uncomfortable steps taken, through moments when you could have stopped but chose to continue. Each of those moments left a mark. The mind remembers follow-through. It remembers resilience. It remembers that you do not disappear when things become uncertain. That memory becomes certainty. I trust myself. Now this is not hope. It is recognition. Trust in yourself does not mean believing you will never fail. It means believing you will respond, adjust, learn, continue. This belief removes fear's final weapon. Fear loses power when quitting is no longer an option. You still feel fear. You simply do not obey it. This is where courage becomes normal. Courage no longer feels like a dramatic act. It feels like standard behavior. You show up. You act. You do not wait for permission from emotion. Courage after action becomes confidence. And confidence, trained, changes your identity. You stop identifying as someone who waits, someone who hesitates, someone who needs reassurance. You become someone who moves, observes, and adapts. You follow through. This phrase now describes you, not because you say it, but because you have proven it, and proof outweighs doubt every time. As this identity settles in, you notice something else. You are less impressed by appearances, less intimidated by confidence in others, less likely to compare. You understand now that confidence is built, not displayed. This understanding grounds you. You respect effort more than image, consistency more than charisma, substance more than noise. That respect shapes how you choose your actions. You stop trying to feel confident before you move. You move because moving is what confident people do. This loop reinforces itself. Action creates evidence. Evidence creates trust. Trust creates confidence. And confidence feeds back into action. You are now inside that loop. This does not make life easy. It makes it manageable. You are no longer overwhelmed by uncertainty. You are no longer paralyzed by doubt. You see challenges as processes, not threats. This is mental strength. You also become more forgiving of imperfection. You understand that confidence is not built through flawless execution, but through persistence. You allow yourself to be in progress without losing respect for yourself. That balance is powerful. As this chapter closes, recognize what you have dismantled. The myth that confidence is a gift. The belief that courage must come first. The idea that certainty is required to begin. You know better now. Confidence is trained. Trust is built. Courage follows action. And you have already started. Carry this forward. The next chapter will demand emotional control under pressure. Situations where confidence is tested in real time, where calm must override reaction. You are ready for that. You trust yourself. Chapter 9. Emotional control under pressure. Pressure does not create weakness. It reveals it. When things are calm, almost anyone can appear composed. When conditions are favorable, discipline feels easy. But when stress rises, when chaos enters, when the unexpected hits, that is when truth shows itself. High performers are not defined by how they feel when life is smooth. They are defined by how they respond when it is not. Emotional control is not emotional absence. It is emotional mastery. Most people believe emotions control them. They feel anger and assume it must be expressed. They feel fear and assume it must be obeyed. They feel stress and assume it must dictate behavior. This belief hands power to emotion without question. You are learning something different. Calm wins battles. Not because calm eliminates emotion, but because calm preserves clarity. Under pressure, clarity is the advantage. When others react, clarity allows you to see. When others rush, clarity allows you to decide. When others collapse into impulse, clarity allows you to. Reaction is weakness. Response is power. Reaction is automatic. It is emotion unchecked. It is the nervous system acting without direction. Response is deliberate. It is emotion acknowledged and guided. The difference between the two defines performance under pressure. Pressure accelerates emotion. Thoughts speed up. The body tightens. Urgency rises. This is natural. The mistake is letting that acceleration take control. You do not eliminate pressure. You regulate your response to it. Emotional discipline defines high performers. This discipline is trained, just like focus, just like confidence, just like leadership. It is built through repetition, not avoidance. You do not wait for calm conditions to practice calm. You practice calm in the middle of disruption. Right now, notice how your body responds to stress. Tight jaw, shallow breath, racing thoughts. These signals are not commands, they are information. Information you can work with. Most people treat emotional signals as orders. You are learning to treat them as data. This shift changes everything. Calm does not mean slow. Calm means controlled. You can move quickly while remaining centered. You can act decisively without being impulsive. Calm sharpens speed instead of dulling it. Under pressure, the mind searches for certainty. It wants resolution now. It pushes for immediate action. This is where mistakes happen. This is where reaction replaces judgment. Pause. That pause is power. In the pause, you breathe. In the pause, you observe. In the pause, you choose. Choice restores control. Emotional control begins with physical regulation. The body leads the mind. When the body is regulated, the mind follows. When the body is tense and rushed, the mind narrows. Breathe. A slow breath sends a signal, not to escape pressure but to stabilize within it. Stabilization creates space. Space allows response. Slow down. Slowing down does not mean stopping. It means removing unnecessary urgency. It means refusing to be rushed by emotion. It means acting on intention, not impulse. You are in control. This statement is not denial. It is orientation. Control does not mean you control circumstance. It means you control how you meet them. High performers understand this. They do not panic when things go wrong. They adjust. They do not explode under pressure. They compress. Compression creates power. When emotion is disciplined, it becomes fuel instead of fire. Anger becomes focus. Fear becomes alertness. Stress becomes intensity directed toward problem solving. Undisciplined emotion scatters energy. Disciplined emotion concentrates it. This is why calm wins battles. Battles are not always external. Many are internal. The battle between reaction and response, between impulse and intention, between chaos and clarity. Every time you choose response over reaction, you win one of these battles. These wins stack. You begin to trust your ability to remain composed. You stop fearing pressure. You stop associating stress with collapse. You see it as a condition you can handle. This changes how you approach challenges. You no longer avoid difficult conversations. You no longer fear high-stakes moments. You no longer crumble under urgency. You prepare, you regulate, you respond. This preparation is not elaborate. It is internal readiness, knowing that when pressure appears, you will slow your breath, widen your awareness, and choose deliberately. This is emotional leadership. You are not suppressing emotion. You are directing it. Suppression creates pressure that eventually explodes. Direction creates power that remains controlled. Notice how this feels. The idea that you do not need to eliminate emotion to master it, that you can feel intensity without losing control, that you can stay calm without becoming passive. This balance is rare, and it is trainable. You are training it now. The next part will deepen this skill. It will place you inside higher pressure, faster decision, sharper demand, and it will show you how to remain centered when everything tries to pull you off balance. Stay present. This is where control is forged. As pressure intensifies, the real work begins. Not when stress is mild, when it spikes, when expectations collide, when time compresses. This is where emotional control separates those who endure from those who excel. Pressure narrows perception. It pulls attention inward. It amplifies threat. The mind begins to scan for danger instead of opportunity. This is a survival response, useful in emergence, destructive in performance. High performers train to widen awareness under pressure. Widening awareness interrupts panic. It reminds you that you are more than the emotion you feel, more than the moment you are in. When awareness widens, options appear. When options appear, control returns. Reaction is weakness. Response is power. Reaction happens fast but blind. Response is fast and aware. The difference is not time, it is training. You train response by practicing regulation when it matters, not after the fact. In the moment, when the heart rate rises, when the voice in your head accelerates, when the urge to react feels overwhelming. This is where discipline shows itself. Emotional discipline does not remove intensity, it channels it. It takes the raw energy of stress and gives it direction. Without direction, stress becomes chaos. With direction, it becomes precision. Notice what happens when pressure appears. The mind starts predicting outcomes, often negative, often exaggerated. This prediction fuels emotion. Emotion fuels reaction. The cycle accelerates. You interrupt the cycle by grounding. Grounding brings you back to the present moment, not the imagined future, not the remembered past. Right now is manageable. Right now is actionable. Breathe. Breathing slows the nervous system. It creates a buffer between stimulus and response. That buffer is where control lies. Slow down. Slowing down does not mean delaying action. It means aligning action with intention. It means refusing to let urgency decide for you. You are in control. This phrase becomes a reference point, not something you repeat frantically, something you return to calmly. It reminds you that while you may not control events, you control your behavior within them. Behavior under pressure defines outcomes. Calm wins battles because calm preserves accuracy. Accuracy matters when stakes are high. Mistakes multiply under stress. Calm reduces error. You begin to see that emotional control is not about being unemotional. It is about being functional. You feel what you feel, then you act with purpose. This functionality is what others recognize as composure. Composure is not natural. It is trained. You train it by choosing response over reaction again and again, by noticing the surge and staying with it instead of exploding or retreating, by trusting your ability to regulate. Trust builds with evidence. Each time you remain composed under pressure, you add to that evidence. The mind learns that stress does not equal danger. That intensity does not equal loss of control, that you can handle more than you thought. This learning reduces fear. Fear feeds reaction. Reduced fear supports response. Over time, pressure stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like a signal to engage fully, to sharpen focus, to apply skill. This reframing is powerful. You no longer dread high-pressure moments. You respect them. You prepare for them. You enter them with readiness instead of apprehension. Preparation is internal. It is knowing that when pressure rises, you will regulate first, decide second, act third. This sequence matters. Regulate, decide, act. Skipping regulation leads to impulsive decision. Impulsive decisions create consequences that require damage control. Regulation prevents that spiral. You are learning to insert regulation automatically. This does not happen overnight. It happens through repetition, through moments when you catch yourself before reacting, through times when you pause, breathe, and choose differently. Those moments stack. Emotional discipline becomes a habit. Habits free mental energy. You do not need to think about staying calm. You default to it. This frees attention for problem solving, creativity, and leadership. Leadership under pressure is visible. Others feel it. They sense steadiness. They sense reliability. But again, this is not about others. This is about you. You become someone who does not collapse when pressure rises. Someone who does not lose clarity when stakes are high. Someone who remains present when chaos enters. That presence is power. Pressure reveals training. You are training now. The next part will take you to the peak. The moment when pressure is highest. When reaction feels unavoidable. when control must be claimed deliberately. Stay centered. The test is coming. This is the moment when pressure is no longer theoretical. It is immediate, loud, demanding. Everything feels urgent at once. Thoughts accelerate. The body tightens. Emotion surges forward asking to be obeyed. This is where most people lose control. Not because they are incapable, because they have never been trained for this moment. You have. Pressure peaks here, and at the peak, reaction feels natural, easy, almost automatic, raising your voice, rushing the decision, forcing movement just to release tension. This is how mistakes are made. This is where leaders separate themselves. Calm wins battles. Not calm as softness, calm as dominance over chaos, calm as the ability to remain centered while everything else accelerates. This is where you claim control. Breathe. Not shallow, not rushed. Deliberate. That breath interrupts the surge. It signals the body to stabilize. It creates space where none seem to exist. Slow down. Not externally. Internally. You do not need to match the speed of the pressure. You need to move with precision. Precision requires clarity. Clarity requires control. You are in control. Say it internally, not to convince yourself, to orient yourself. You feel the emotion. You do not become it. This distinction is everything. Reaction is weakness because it hands authority to impulse. Response is power because it keeps authority with you. Authority over your words, your actions, your decisions. High performers are not immune to stress. They are immune to losing themselves inside it. You remain present. You widen awareness instead of narrowing it. You see the whole situation, not just the threat. You listen fully. You choose carefully. You act decisively. This presence slows time. It feels like the moment opens instead of collapses. This is not imagination. It is regulation in action. Emotional discipline defines high performers because it preserves judgment under pressure. When judgment remains intact, outcomes improve. You begin to understand something profound. Pressure is not the enemy. Loss of control is. When you maintain control, pressure becomes a tool. It sharpens focus. It demands clarity. It forces prioritization. Used correctly, it elevates performance. This is transformation. You are no longer afraid of emotional intensity. You know how to meet it, how to regulate it, how to direct it. This confidence is earned. You have stayed calm when reaction was tempting. You have chosen response when impulse was loud. You have proven to yourself that you can remain composed when it matters most. That proof changes you. You trust yourself under pressure now. This trust removes hesitation. You no longer fear high-stakes moments. You prepare for them. You enter them grounded. You lead through them. Leadership under pressure is quiet. It does not announce itself. It shows up as steadiness when others shake, as clarity when others rush, as control when others collapse. You have built that capacity. Take a moment here. Notice how different pressure feels now compared to before. Less threatening, more manageable, less chaotic, more structured. That is emotional mastery forming. This mastery will be required again, in harder moments, with higher stakes, with greater responsibility, but the foundation is set. You know what to do when pressure rises. Breathe. Slow down. You are in control. These are no longer words. They are actions, automatic, reliable, effective. As this chapter closes, recognize what you have gained. You have learned to remain yourself when stress tries to take you away from yourself. That skill will carry you forward. The next chapter will demand consistency, not just control in moments of intensity, but discipline across days, across routines, across repetition. You are ready for that. Stay calm, stay clear, stay in control. Chapter 10, The Daily Ritual of the Strong. Strength is not built in moments of intensity. It is built in moments of repetition. What you do once proves possibility. What you do daily becomes identity. This is why rituals matter, not because they are dramatic, because they are dependable. The strongest people in the world are not chaotic. They are structured. Structure creates freedom. Without structure, the mind wastes energy deciding what to do next. It negotiates, it delays, it hesitates. With structure, decisions are already made. Energy is conserved. Focus is directed. Momentum builds. Rituals remove friction. A ritual is a decision you no longer debate. It is a standard you live by. When a ritual is in place, discipline becomes automatic. You do not rely on motivation. You rely on habit. This is mental dominance. Mental dominance does not mean forcing yourself endless. It means designing your days so that strength is the default. You remove opportunities for weakness by creating systems that support consistency. Morning and night rituals shape identity. The morning sets direction. The night locks it in. Together they frame your day. They tell your mind who is in control. When you begin your day deliberately, you carry that intention forward. When you end your day with closure, you prepare for the next one. Win the morning. Winning the morning does not require complexity. It requires intention. You wake up and you choose direction before the world chooses for you. You decide how you will think, how you will move, how you will engage. The first moments matter. If the day begins in reaction, it often stays that way. If it begins with structure, structure follows. This is not coincidence. It is momentum. Momentum beats intensity. Intensity spikes and fades. Momentum carries. A strong ritual builds momentum quietly, day after day, without drama, without burnout. Most people chase intensity. They wait to feel driven. They wait for energy to arrive. Rituals remove waiting. You act because it is time to act. Time replaces mood. This is freedom. A morning ritual stabilizes your inner world. It grounds you before pressure arrives. It gives you a reference point. When the day becomes chaotic, you return to the identity you established at the start. You are not improvising, you are executing. This execution builds confidence. You know you have already won something today. That win carries weight. Winning the morning is not about productivity alone. It is about posture, mental posture. You stand differently inside yourself when you begin with discipline. You are no longer chasing the day. You are leading it. This leadership reduces anxiety. Anxiety often comes from lack of direction. When direction is clear, tension drops. Your ritual does not need to be perfect. It needs to be consistent. Simplicity is strength here. A few actions repeated daily outperform elaborate plans abandoned quickly. The mind respects what is repeated. As you establish morning structure, resistance will. The urge to sleep in, to delay, to skip. This resistance is expected. It is the old pattern testing boundary. Do not negotiate. A ritual loses power when it becomes optional. Non-negotiable habits create mental dominance because they remove internal debate. You do not ask whether to do them. You do them. That certainty strengthens identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through automatically. This self-image matters. Structure creates freedom because it frees attention for what matters. You are not scattered by indecision. You are directed by design. As this part of the chapter closes, understand what you are building. Not a schedule, a standard, a way of operating that does not depend on feeling ready. The next part will deepen this. It will show you how to use nightly rituals to reinforce strength and how momentum is maintained across days. Stay steady. The ritual has begun. As the days stack, the power of ritual becomes clearer. What once felt deliberate begins to feel natural. You no longer question whether to act. You move because movement is built into your structure. This is when strength becomes sustainable. Structure creates freedom because it removes chaos before it appears. When your day has anchors, the unexpected does not throw you off course. You may adjust, but you do not collapse. Ritual gives you a baseline, a default state you return to when pressure rises. This is resilience by design. Most people underestimate the psychological weight of unfinished days. When evenings end without closure, the mind carries tension into sleep. That tension shows up the next morning as fatigue, hesitation, and resistance. Night rituals prevent that. Night rituals shape identity just as powerfully as morning ones. The night is not for collapse, it is for completion. You review, you close loops. You prepare the ground for tomorrow. This tells your mind that effort has an end point, that rest is earned, that tomorrow has direction. Finish strong. Finishing strong is not about squeezing out more work. It is about integrity. You complete what you committed to. You reflect briefly. You reset intentionally. This creates psychological cleanliness. Clean endings create clean beginnings. When you finish the day deliberately, you wake up clearer, less scattered, less reactive. You are not carrying unresolved tension forward. This clarity compounds. Momentum beats intensity because momentum is cumulative. Intensity burns fuel quickly. Momentum conserves it. With ritual, you are not starting from zero each day. You are continuing. Continuity builds confidence. You begin to trust your rhythm. You know when you start. You know how you move. You know how you close. This predictability stabilizes your nervous system. Stability improves performance. High performers are not constantly improvising. They are executing familiar patterns at a high level. Rituals also protect you from decision fatigue. Every unnecessary decision drains energy. Rituals eliminate dozens of small decisions daily. That energy is redirected into focus, creativity, and discipline. This is mental domina. NCE expressed quietly. Non-negotiable habits teach your mind something important, that your word is final, that you do not bargain with resistance. That action happens regardless of mood. This builds self-trust. Self-trust is reinforced each morning you show up and each night you close properly. Over time, this trust becomes identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries. You see yourself as someone who executes. Execution reduces anxiety. Anxiety often comes from uncertainty and inconsistency. Ritual replaces both with reliability. You know what you will do even when things are difficult. That knowledge is calming. You may notice that as your rituals solidify, distractions lose power. You are less tempted to drift, less pulled by novelty. Your mind knows there is a structure in place. It relaxes into it. This is how rituals create freedom. Freedom from overthinking, freedom from hesitation, freedom from chaos. Your rituals are not cages, they are containers. Containers hold energy, they give it shape. Without a container, energy spills everywhere. With ritual, energy is focused. You are no longer chasing motivation. You are building momentum, and momentum carries you through low-energy days without drama. Win the morning, finish strong. These are not slogans, they are commands that shape your days. As this part closes, recognize what you are experiencing. Strength that does not depend on hype, discipline that does not require force, a rhythm that supports growth instead of draining you. The final part will bring this together. It will show you how to protect rituals when life pressures increase and how to maintain momentum over the long term. Stay committed. The structure is working. There is a moment when ritual stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like armor. You do not wake up asking whether you will show up. You do not end the day wondering how it slipped away. The structure holds, and because it holds, so do you. This is when strength becomes quiet and unshakable. Life will try to disrupt your rhythm. Pressure will increase. Schedules will tighten. Fatigue will test your discipline. This is not a sign to loosen structure. It is the reason structure exists. Ritual is not for easy days. It is for demanding ones. Strong rituals do not bend to chaos. They absorb it. When life becomes loud, you return to what is simple and non-negotiable. You win the morning even if it looks different than usual. You finish strong even if the day was imperfect. You protect the frame even when the picture changes. This is how momentum is preserved. Momentum beats intensity because momentum does not ask how you feel. It moves, even slowly, even quietly. It carries progress forward when motivation is absent and energy is low. Intensity demands peaks. Momentum accepts consistency. You begin to understand that rituals are not restrictive. They are stabilizing. They give you something solid to stand on when everything else shifts. They prevent drift. They keep identity intact. Identity is not formed in big moments. It is reinforced in daily ones. Each morning you show up, you reinforce the identity of someone who leads themselves. Each night you close with intention, you reinforce the identity of someone who finishes what they start. These reinforcements stack. Over time, the ritual becomes automatic, not because you stopped caring, but because you cared long enough for it to stick. Automatic strength is the goal, strength that does not require constant effort. This is mental dominance expressed through design. You do not overpower weakness, you outstructure it. Weakness thrives in ambiguity. Strength thrives in clarity. Ritual removes ambiguity. It answers the question of what comes next before it is asked. This clarity creates calm. Calm does not mean lack of ambition. It means controlled ambition, directed effort, focused energy. You are no longer scattered. You are sequential. One action leads to the next. One day builds on the last. Finish strong. Finishing strong now means honoring the system even when the day did not go as planned. You close the loop. You reflect briefly. You reset. This teaches your mind that setbacks do not break rhythm. They are absorbed and moved past. This resilience is powerful. You stop starting over, you continue. Starting over drains energy. Continuing conserves it. Ritual makes continuation possible. As this chapter closes, recognize what you have built. A structure that supports discipline, a rhythm that carries momentum, a set of non-negotiables that protect your strength. This is not temporary motivation. This is a way of living. You are no longer guessing how to be strong. You have a system that makes strength inevitable. Win the morning. Finish strong. These commands are now embedded. They guide you without force. The next chapter will challenge you to maintain this consistency over long stretches, to stay relentless when repetition becomes boring, to keep going when progress feels invisible. You are prepared for that. The ritual holds. Chapter 11, Relentless Consistency. Consistency is not exciting. That is why it works. It does not announce itself. It does not demand attention. It does not spike emotion or create instant reward. Consistency moves quietly, day after day, building something most people never notice until it is unbreakable. This is where real progress lives. Most people chase intensity. They wait for the surge, the burst of motivation, the perfect moment when effort feels effortless. And when that feeling fades, so does the action. This cycle repeats endlessly. Start strong, burn out, start again. Consistency outperforms bursts of effort every time. Not because consistency is faster, because it is honest. It accepts reality. Some days you feel strong, some days you do not. Consistency does not care, it moves regardless. Relentless consistency is not aggression. It is refusal to negotiate. You don't stop because you don't negotiate. Negotiation is where momentum dies. The internal debate, the mental bargaining, just today, just this once. Just because you're tired, just because it's inconvenient. Each negotiation feels harmless, but over time they erode trust. Consistency removes negotiation entirely. You decide once, then you execute repeatedly. This is not rigid, it is efficient. Progress compounds quietly. You rarely feel it happening. You rarely see dramatic change in the moment, but something is always building beneath the surface. Skill, endurance, capacity, confidence. Compound progress is invisible until it is. This is why most people quit too early. They judge progress emotionally instead of structure. They ask how it feels instead of whether it is working. Consistency teaches you to stop asking how you feel and start asking whether you showed up. Showing up is the metric. Relentless does not mean reckless. It means unwavering. You adjust pace, not direction. You modify methods, not commitment. You rest when needed, but you do not retreat. This distinction matters. Many people confuse rest with quitting. Rest is strategic. Quitting is emotional. Rest supports consistency. Quitting destroys it. Consistency teaches patience. Patience teaches endurance. Endurance builds power. This power is not dramatic. It is dependable. Dependability changes identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries. You see yourself as someone who continues. That shift is everything. I keep going. Say it internally. Not as encouragement, as description. You keep going because stopping is no longer an option you entertain. Not because you are forced. Because you have learned what stopping costs. Stopping resets progress. It reintroduces doubt. It breaks rhythm. Consistency protects rhythm. Rhythm carries you when energy fades. You begin to understand that consistency is a form of self-respect. You respect your future enough to act today. You respect your process enough to stay with it. You respect yourself enough not to abandon effort when emotion shifts. Emotion is temporary. Identity is built through behavior. Consistency builds identity. Each day you act in alignment, you reinforce who you are becoming. Each day you skip, you reinforce who you were. This is not punishment. It is physics. Action accumulates. The mind learns through repetition. When you repeat action, the mind adapts. Resistance lowers. Habits form. What once felt difficult becomes normal. Normal behavior defines life. This is why consistency outperforms intensity. Intensity burns hot and fast. Consistency burns steady and long. Long enough to change you. Relentless consistency does not require confidence. It creates it. It does not require motivation. It builds discipline. It does not require certainty. It builds trust. Trust in yourself grows when you keep showing up. You stop doubting whether you will act. You already know the answer. This certainty is calming. Calm reduces friction. Reduced friction allows momentum to flow. Momentum reinforces consistency. This loop strengthens over time. You are no longer fighting yourself. You are moving with yourself. This chapter is about removing the option to quit emotionally, not because quitting is forbidden, because quitting is no longer aligned with who you are. You are becoming someone who keeps going. Stay with this idea, let it settle. The next part will deepen this. It will show you how consistency survives boredom, slow progress, and the absence of feedback. This is where most people fail. You will not. You keep going. Boredom is the true test of consistency, not difficulty, not failure. Boredom, the moment when effort feels repetitive, when progress feels slow, when nothing dramatic is happening. This is where most people stop, not because they cannot continue, but because they expect more stimulation than growth provides. Growth is often quiet. Progress compounds quietly because real change happens beneath awareness. Strength builds in all increments. Skill sharpens gradually. Identity shifts slowly. If you are waiting to feel inspired by consistency, you will miss its power. Consistency is not meant to excite you. It is meant to carry you. When the work becomes familiar, the mind searches for novelty. It asks for variation, for relief, for something new. This is not curiosity. It is discomfort with repetition. And repetition is where mastery lies. Masters are not bored by repetition. They understand its value. Consistency survives boredom by removing choice. When something is non-negotiable, boredom loses influence. You do not ask whether today will be interesting. You execute because execution is the standard. You don't stop because you don't negotiate. Negotiation invites emotion into decision-making. Emotion is unreliable. Some days it supports effort. Some days it undermines it. Consistency removes emotion from the equation. You act because it is time to act. This does not make you robotic. It makes you reliable. Reliability builds momentum. Momentum builds belief. Belief keeps you moving even when feedback is absent. Most people quit because they cannot see progress fast enough. They assume effort without visible reward is wasted. This assumption is false. Many of the most important changes happen before results appear. Roots grow before the tree is visible. Consistency respects this process. It does not rush it. It does not demand proof every day. It trusts the accumulation. Trusting accumulation requires patience. Patience is not passive. It is active endurance. It is choosing to continue without external reinforcement. It is staying with the process even when it feels invisible. This endurance separates those who finish from those who start. You may notice moments when you question whether your effort matters, whether the repetition is worth it, whether a break would really hurt. These thoughts are normal. They are part of the long game. Notice them, do not obey them. Each time you continue despite doubt, you strengthen your capacity to persist. Persistence becomes familiar. Familiarity reduces resistance. Over time, consistency becomes easier, not because the work changed, but because you change. You stop dramatizing effort. You stop overthinking progress. You stop needing validation to continue. You show up, do the work, and move on. This simplicity is powerful. Progress compounds quietly, but its effects are undeniable over time. One day you realize that what once felt heavy feels manageable. What once felt impossible feels normal. That realization arrives suddenly, but it was built slowly. Consistency creates these moments. You begin to trust the process because you have seen it work. Not overnight, over time. That trust stabilizes your effort. You are no longer tempted to abandon what is working just because it is slow. Slow is not wrong. Slow is sustainable. Sustainable effort wins. As consistency deepens, your emotional state stabilizes. You are less reactive to daily fluctuations. You do not judge yourself harshly on low-energy days. You do not overinflate success on high-energy days. You remain steady. Steadiness is strength. You keep going because going is who you are now. Not because it feels heroic, because it feels aligned. I keep going. Say it again. Let it feel neutral, matter of fact. You keep going through boredom. You keep going through slow days. You keep going when nothing seems to change. This is where most people fall away. And this is where you separate yourself. The final part of this chapter will lock this mindset in. It will show you how consistency becomes identity and how identity carries you through the longest stretches of effort. Stay steady. You are closer than you think. There comes a point when consistency is no longer something you practice. It becomes something you rely on. You no longer question whether you will continue. You already know the answer. This certainty removes friction. Effort becomes cleaner. Progress becomes steadier. This is where consistency becomes identity. Identity is not what you say about yourself. It is what you repeat, day after day, under pressure, without drama. Consistency turns action into identity because repetition rewires self-perception. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is trying to change. You see yourself as someone who shows up. This shift is subtle, but it is permanent. Relentless consistency does not mean intensity every day. It means continuity. You may move slowly, you may adjust pace, but you do not stop. Direction remains intact even when speed varies. This is maturity. Most people mistake slowing down for failure. You do not. You understand that slowing down can preserve momentum. Stopping destroys it. You don't stop because you don't negotiate. Negotiation reopens the door to quitting. Once that door is open, doubt enters. Doubt questions everything. Consistency closes the door. The decision has already been made. This decision removes emotional exhaustion. Emotional exhaustion often comes from internal debate, not effort. When you stop debating, energy is free. You are no longer fighting yourself. You are moving with yourself. This alignment is powerful. Progress continues quietly. You may not feel different every day, but you are different, more capable, more durable, more reliable. These qualities accumulate invisibly until they define you. Others may notice before you do. But even if no one noticed, it would not matter, because the most important shift has already happened internally. You trust yourself to continue. Trust like this stabilizes ambition. You are no longer tempted by shortcuts. You are no longer distracted by alternative. You are committed to the process because the process works. I keep going. This affirmation now describes your default behavior, not because you force it, because you have trained it. Consistency has reshaped your relationship with effort. Effort no longer feels like something you muster. It feels like something you maintain. Maintenance beats motivation. Motivation spikes and fades. Maintenance sustains. This is why consistency outperforms bursts of effort. Bursts exhaust. Consistency endures. Endurance carries you through long projects, long goals, long vision. Anything meaningful takes time. Consistency gives you the patience to stay. As this chapter closes, recognize what you have claimed. You have removed quitting as a habitual response. You have removed negotiation as a default behavior. You have built a rhythm that does not depend on feeling inspired. This rhythm will carry you further than motivation ever could. The next chapter will ask you to solidify this endurance into an unbreakable mindset, one that bends but does not break, one that learns from failure instead of being defined by it. You are ready for that. Keep going. Chapter 12. The Unbreakable Mindset. At some point, something settles inside you. Not excitement, not adrenaline, certainty. The kind that does not need reinforcement. The kind that remains when everything external is stripped away. This is not motivation. This is identity. You are no longer trying to become strong. You are strong. An unbreakable mindset is not the absence of pressure. It is the presence of stability within it. You bend, but you do not break. You absorb impact. You adapt. You continue. This is the final shift, not a new skill, a new way of being. Earlier, resistance felt threatening. Now it feels familiar. You recognize it. You understand it. It no longer defines you. Pressure has lost its power to shake your core. This does not mean you are immune to challenge. It means challenge no longer dictates who you are. The mind is now trained. Training does not remove difficulty. It removes surprise. You know what happens when things go wrong. You know how you respond when plans collapse. You know how you recover when effort does not immediately pay off. This knowledge is grounding. You are no longer fragile. Fragility depends on illusion, on the belief that things must go a certain way for you to be okay. That belief is gone. You have learned to function in uncertainty, to stay present when outcomes are unclear, to keep moving when clarity is delayed. This is resilience internalized. Failure no longer feels like an ending. It feels like information, data, feedback, something to be used, not fear. When failure happens, you do not collapse into self-doubt. You observe, you adjust, you apply what you learn. Failure becomes data. This reframing changes everything. It removes emotional charge. It replaces judgment with curiosity. Instead of asking what is wrong with you, you ask what can be improved. That question leads forward. The unbreakable mindset is practical. It does not rely on optimism. It relies on adaptability. It does not deny difficulty. It prepares for it. You expect setbacks. You plan for friction. You account for fatigue. Because of that, you are not thrown when things get hard. You bend, but you do not break. Bending is flexibility. It is adjusting approach without abandoning direction. Breaking is quitting. You no longer do that. Quitting is not part of your identity. It is no longer a familiar response. This mindset was not built overnight. It was built through discipline, through pain, through delay, through consistency, through silence, through focus, through leadership of self. All of it led here. You can feel the difference now, not as intensity, as steadiness, a grounded confidence that does not spike or fade, it remains. This steadiness is what makes the mindset unbreakable. You do not need perfect conditions. You do not need reassurance. You do not need momentum to begin. You create momentum by acting. Action is still your anchor. The mind, now trained, does not overreact. It does not spiral. It does not catastrophize. It assesses. It decides. It moves. This is mastery. You have learned to separate emotion from identity. You feel frustration without becoming it. You experience doubt without surrendering to it. You encounter fear without obeying it. These distinctions protect you. You are no longer surprised by internal storms. You know how to stand inside them. That is power. As this chapter unfolds, you are not being given something new. You are recognizing what has already formed. The unbreakable mindset is not created here. It is revealed here. You are different now. The next part will press this mindset under pressure one final time. It will test it, not to break it, to confirm it. Stay present. The transformation is locking in. Now the pressure feels different, not heavier, clearer. You are no longer wondering whether you can handle what is ahead. You already know how you respond when things get difficult. You have been there. You stayed. You adapted. You continued. That memory is permanent. The unbreakable mindset is not confidence in outcome. It is confidence in response. Whatever happens, you respond. You do not freeze. You do not collapse. You do not disappear. You adjust and move. This is why failure becomes data. Data has no emotion. It has value. When something does not work, you do not attach identity to it. You do not internalize it as a verdict on who you are. You analyze. You extract lesson. You refine approach. This removes fear from the process. Fear thrives on finality, on the idea that one mistake defines you. Data eliminates finality. There is always a next iteration, always a next move. You begin to see setbacks as necessary friction, resistance that strengthens structure, feedback that sharpens precision. Without friction, nothing hardens. Without resistance, nothing becomes durable. You bend, but you do not break. Bending now feels natural. You do not cling rigidly to a single plan. You protect direction, not method. When something fails, you pivot without panic. You remain centered while adjusting. This flexibility is strength. Rigid minds shatter under pressure. Flexible minds absorb impact and continue forward. You have trained flexibility without losing discipline. That balance is rare. The mind is now trained. Training shows itself in how quickly you recover, how little time you spend in emotional collapse, how efficiently you return to execution. Recovery speed matters more than avoidance of failure. High performers are not those who never fall. They are those who rise quickly with clarity. You do that now. Notice how your internal dialogue has changed. There is less drama, less self-criticism, more observation, more problem-solving. You no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" You ask, "What do I do next?" That question keeps you moving. Movement prevents stagnation. Stagnation invites doubt. You do not stagnate anymore. You move. This movement reinforces identity. You see yourself as someone who responds effectively under pressure. That self-image is powerful. It shapes future behavior automatically. You trust yourself to handle difficulty. Trust like this removes anxiety. Anxiety comes from uncertainty about your own response. That uncertainty is gone. You know what you do when things get hard. You stay engaged. This engagement changes how you experience challenges. They no longer feel personal. They feel procedural, steps to work through, problems to solve. systems to adjust. This perspective keeps emotion in check without suppressing it. You feel disappointment, but it does not derail you. You feel frustration, but it does not stop you. Emotion passes, direction remains. The unbreakable mindset does not deny feeling. It denies domination by feeling. This distinction matters. You are not numb, you are disciplined. Discipline here is not force. It is familiarity with your own strength. You have been tested enough to know that intensity does not overwhelm you. You are still standing. That standing creates calm. Calm does not mean inactivity. It means clarity. It means you can see clearly even when things are not going your way. Clarity allows smart action. Smart action compounds. As you continue, you notice something else. External chaos affects you less. Opinions carry less weight. Setbacks do not shake your core. You have an internal reference point that remains stable. This stability is the unbreakable mindset in motion. You are no longer bracing for impact. You are absorbing it. You are no longer afraid of being tested. You understand tests are confirmation, not threats. The final part will seal this. It will bring everything together in one decisive moment, a moment of recognition, of permanence. You are ready. Stay steady. The final lock is coming. This is the moment when everything settles. Not with noise, not with celebration, with certainty. You can feel it now. The absence of inner collapse. The absence of panic when things tighten. The absence of that old voice asking whether you are enough. It is quiet because it is permanent. You have changed, not in the way motivation changes few days, not in the way excitement lifts you temporarily. This change is structural. It lives beneath emotion, beneath circumstance, beneath pressure. You bend, but you do not break. Pressure still arrives. Challenges still test you. Setbacks still happen. But none of them reach your core. They press against you. You adapt. You absorb. You continue. There is no dramatic inner crisis anymore. No identity threat. Your identity is settled. Failure no longer feels dangerous. It no longer threatens your sense of self. It shows up, delivers information, and leaves. You take what it offers and move forward sharper than before. Failure becomes data. This is not optimism. This is efficiency. You are no longer wasting energy on self-judgment. You are using that energy to refine execution, to adjust strategy, to strengthen approach. The mind is now trained. A trained mind does not spiral. It does not catastrophize. It does not turn difficulty into drama. It assesses. It chooses. It acts. This is what training looks like in real time. You notice how fast you recover now, how little time you spend stuck, how quickly you return to center. Recovery speed has replaced avoidance as your advantage. That is resilience in its highest form. You are not unbreakable because nothing hurts. You are unbreakable because nothing owns you anymore. Emotion passes through you without controlling you. Pressure moves against you without defining you. You stay standing. This standing creates authority, not over others, over yourself. You trust your reactions. You trust your discipline. You trust your ability to remain intact when things do not go your way. This trust is earned, and because it is earned, it cannot be taken from you. There is no going back to who you have crossed too many lines. Stayed through too much discomfort, built too much consistency, developed too much awareness. The old version of you cannot survive here. You've changed. This is permanent. You do not need to protect this mindset with effort. It protects itself through habit, through repetition, through lived experience. You are no longer pretending to be strong. You are strong. Quietly, reliably, permanently. The unbreakable mindset does not demand recognition. It does not seek proof. It simply operates. Day after day, decision after decision, under calm and under pressure. You move forward now without asking who you are. You know, as this chapter closes, there is nothing left to chase internally, no missing piece, no unfinished identity. You are no longer assembling yourself. You are operating as yourself. The final stage awaits, not a new lesson, a declaration of who you are now and how you live from here. Stand steady. The transformation is complete. Final conclusion, you are no longer the same. You can feel it now, not as excitement, not as intensity, as certainty, a quiet, settled knowing that something fundamental has shifted inside you. You are not reaching for it anymore. You are standing in it. You are no longer the same. This did not happen all at once. It happened through decisions stacked on top of each other, through moments when you stayed instead of escaping, when you chose discipline over comfort, when you slowed your breath under pressure and refused to collapse, when you acted without applause, when you kept going long after motivation faded. Those moments changed you. At the beginning, you were searching. You knew something was missing, even if you could not fully name it. You felt the weight of distraction, the pull of old habits, the quiet frustration of knowing you were capable of more. That awareness was not weakness. It was the first signal of strength waking up. You answered that signal. You learned to observe your mind instead of being dragged by it. You learned to command your attention instead of surrendering. You learned that silence is not emptiness, but power held in reserve. You learned that discipline is not punishment, but self-respect made visible. Each lesson stripped away illusion. You stopped waiting to feel ready. You stopped negotiating with resistance. You stopped outsourcing control to emotion. In their place, something steady formed. Mental mastery is not loud. It does not announce itself. It shows up in how you respond, in how you decide, in how little you are shaken by things that once controlled you. You can see it now when pressure arrives. Your breath slows, your awareness widens. You do not rush to react. You choose. That choice is power, and it is yours. You trained it. The journey you just completed was not about becoming someone else. It was about removing what was never truly the noise, the doubt, the fragmentation, the patterns that kept you reactive instead of deliberate. What remains is clarity. You know who you are when things are hard. You know how you respond when plans fail. You know that you can stay present inside discomfort without losing direction. That knowledge is unshakable. You are no longer chasing confidence. You trust yourself because you have evidence. You followed through. You stayed consistent. You kept promises to yourself when no one else was watching. That trust does not evaporate when circumstances change. It travels with you. Look back at who you were before this process began. Not with judgment, with understanding. That version of you did what it knew how to do at the time, but it could not survive here. The standards are higher now. The awareness is deeper. The discipline is non-negotiable. You have crossed a line. There is no returning to unconscious drift, no going back to reacting without noticing, no pretending that comfort leads anywhere worth going. You have seen too much, built too much, proven too much. You are no longer the same. And this change does not require maintenance through hype. It is sustained through alignment. Your actions match your value. Your habits support your direction. Your mind works for you instead of against you. This is what it means to own your inner world. The future no longer feels abstract. You can sense the person you are becoming because you are already acting like them. That future version is not imagined. It is constructed daily through your choices. Future pacing happens naturally now. You see yourself moving through challenges with composure. You see yourself leading without forcing. You see yourself protecting your energy and your standards without apology. This vision is calm because it is realistic. You do not need to become perfect. You need to remain aligned. You do not need to avoid failure. You need to use it. You do not need to eliminate fear. You need to stop obeying it. You already know how to do this. Your mind is trained to focus when distraction appears, trained to regulate when pressure rises, trained to persist when boredom tempts you to quit. These are not ideas anymore. They are behaviors, automatic, reliable. This is mastery. And mastery creates a different relationship with life. You are no longer trying to control everything. You are controlling yourself. That is enough. The world may remain unpredictable. People may remain inconsistent. Outcomes may remain uncertain. None of that destabilizes you now. You are anchored. As you move forward, there will be moments that test this new identity, not to take it away, to strengthen it. Tests no longer threaten you. They confirm what you already know. You bend, you do not break. This is the beginning of a new way of living, not fueled by urgency, not driven by fear, guided by clarity, sustained by discipline, protected by awareness. You have earned this. Stay with this feeling. Let it settle deeper. The next part will lock this identity into how you live every day, how you protect what you've built, and how you carry this strength forward without losing it. You are no longer the same, and this is only the beginning. From this point forward, life meets you differently, not because the world changed, but because you did. The same situations that once triggered reaction now meet a calmer presence. The same pressures that once caused hesitation now encounter clarity. You carry yourself with quiet confidence. This confidence does not need reinforcement. It does not fluctuate with praise or criticism. It is grounded in behavior, in proof, in lived experience. You have seen how you respond when things are hard. You trust that response. Trust changes posture. You no longer rush to prove anything. You no longer explain yourself unnecessarily. You move deliberately. You speak when it matters. You listen more than you talk. This restraint is strength. You protect what you have built. Protection is not fear, it is respect. You respect why. Our energy, your focus, your standards. You do not give them away casually. You do not expose them to noise. You do not dilute them with unnecessary distraction. Protected. You protect your mornings because they set direction. You protect your nights because they lock in progress. You protect your focus because it shapes outcomes. This protection keeps your identity intact. The mind you have trained will continue to face temptation. Distraction will appear. Comfort will whisper. Old patterns will occasionally knock. They do not frighten you anymore. You recognize them immediately. Recognition removes power. You do not fight temptation aggressively. You simply do not engage with it. Engagement feeds it. Silence starves it. This is mastery in action. You have learned that strength does not require constant force. It requires consistency, direction, calm repetition. You keep doing what works without drama. This is how you live it. Live it does not mean performing strength. It means embodying it. It means choosing discipline without announcing it, choosing clarity without explanation, choosing alignment without apology. This way of living simplifies everything. You no longer spend energy arguing with yourself. Decisions are cleaner, standards are clear, action follows naturally. This simplicity creates space, space to think, space to create, space to lead. Leadership now flows from who you are, not what you say. You lead by example, by consistency, by emotional control, by refusing to collapse when things become difficult. Others may notice, or they may not. That is no longer your concern. You are not building a brand. You are building a life defined by self-command, by mental clarity, by inner stability. These qualities compound over time. They open doors, they create opportunities, they attract trust. But even without any of that, this life would still be worth living, because you are aligned. Future pacing no longer feels like wishful thinking. It feels like trajectory. You can see where this path leads because you are already walking it. You see yourself making decisions without panic. You see yourself maintaining discipline without force. You see yourself handling setbacks without losing direction. This future is not distant. It is unfolding now. You understand that growth never truly ends. There will always be new levels, new challenges, new demands. That does not intimidate you. It steadies you. You have the tools to meet whatever comes next. Your mind is yours. It is no longer hijacked by distraction. It is no longer ruled by impulse. It is no longer weakened by avoidance. You decide how it is used. This decision repeats daily, not as a struggle. As a habit, you wake up aligned, you move deliberately, you close the day cleanly. This rhythm sustains you. You do not need to guard this identity aggressively. You protect it by living it. Every aligned action reinforces it. Every calm response strengthens. Every consistent day deepens it. You are no longer trying to become strong. You are maintaining strength. This maintenance is subtle, almost invisible, but it is powerful. As you move forward, there will be moments when life tries to pull you back into old ways. Stressful days, unexpected losses, fatigue. You will recognize the pull, and you will choose differently. That choice is automatic now, because you are no longer the same. The final part will bring this journey to its close, not with hype, with certainty, with commands that are no longer instructions but confirmations of how you live from here. Stay present. The seal is almost complete. This is where the journey closes, not with noise, not with spectacle, with recognition, a clear understanding of who you are now and how you live from this point forward. You do not need another lesson. You are the lesson. Everything you learned has already been integrated, not intellectually, behaviorally. You move differently, you decide differently, you respond differently. These differences are subtle to the outside world but decisive within you. This is how real transformation ends. Quietly, permanently. You are no longer waiting for permission. You are no longer hoping to change. You are no longer negotiating with yourself. You act. Your mind is yours. It does not scatter easily. It does not panic under pressure. It does not collapse when things go wrong. It returns to center, again and again. That return is automatic now. Automatic strength is the goal. You have built a mind that works with you instead of against you, a mind that can focus when needed, endure when required, adjust without losing direction. This is mastery in daily life, not perfection, control. Control does not mean rigidity. It means choice. You choose how you respond. You choose what you give energy to. You choose what you ignore. These choices define freedom. Freedom earned through discipline lasts. From here on, you live it. You live it in how you wake up. Why? Intention instead of urgency. You live it in how you work, with focus instead of distraction. You live it in how you face difficulty, with calm instead of panic. Living it is not performance. It is consistent. Protected. Protection is not fear-based. It is value-based. You protect your mental state the way you protect anything valuable, by being selective, by being intentional, by refusing unnecessary exposure. You protect your attention. You protect your energy. You protect your standards, not aggressively, calmly. When something does not align, you step away. No explanation required. When something threatens your focus, you remove it. No guilt attached. This clarity is not harsh. It is respectful. You respect what you have built. Lead. Leadership now begins and ends with you. You lead your thoughts. You lead your action. You lead your reaction. That leadership extends naturally into everything else you touch. You do not chase influence. Influence follows stability. You do not force authority. Authority is felt. People trust consistency. They trust calm. They trust those who do not fold under pressure. You embody those qualities now, whether anyone acknowledges it or not. And that is enough. As you look forward, you do not see a finish line. You see a path you are equipped to walk for as long as you choose. Challenges will appear. New levels will demand more of you. You will meet them with the same steadiness you have built here. You rise, not dramatically, reliably. You decide who you become, not once, daily. My mind is mine. Say it, let it land. This is not affirmation anymore. It is truth. Your mind is no longer ruled by distraction, no longer owned by impulse, no longer shaped by avoidance. It is directed by you. This is the final seal. There is nothing to rush toward now. No need to prove anything. You move forward with quiet confidence, grounded discipline, and an unbreakable core. You are no longer the same, and you never will be again. Live it. Protected. Lead. This is where the journey closes, not with noise, not with spectacle, with recognition, a clear understanding of who you are now and how you live from this point forward. You do not need another lesson. You are the lesson. Everything you learned has already been integrated, not intellectually. Behaviorally, you move differently, you decide differently, you respond differently. These differences are subtle to the outside world but decisive within you. This is how real transformation ends, quietly, permanently. You are no longer waiting for permission. You are no longer hoping to change. You are no longer negotiating with yourself. You act. Your mind is yours. It does not scatter easily. It does not panic under pressure. It does not collapse when things go wrong. It returns to center, again and again. That return is automatic now. Automatic strength is the goal. You have built a mind that works with you instead of against you, a mind that can focus when needed, endure when required, adjust without losing direction. This is mastery in daily life, not perfection, control. Control does not mean rigidity. It means choice. You choose how you respond. You choose what you give energy to. You choose what you ignore. These choices define freedom. Freedom earned through discipline lasts. From here on, you live it. You live it in how you wake up, with intention instead of urgency. You live it in how you work, with focus instead of distraction. You live it in how you face difficulty, with calm instead of panic. Living it is not performance. It is consistency. Protected. Protection is not fear-based. It is value-based. You protect your mental state the way you protect anything valuable, by being selective, by being intentional, by refusing unnecessary exposure. You protect your attention. You protect your energy. You protect your standards, not aggressively, calmly. When something does not align, you step away. No explanation required. When something threatens your focus, you remove it. No guilt attached. This clarity is not harsh. It is respectful. You respect what you have built. Lead. Leadership now begins and ends with you. You lead your thoughts. You lead your action. You lead your reaction. That leadership extends naturally into everything else you touch. You do not chase influence. Influence follows stability. You do not force authority. Authority is felt. People trust consistency. They trust calm. They trust those who do not fold under pressure. You embody those qualities now, whether anyone acknowledges it or not. And that is enough. As you look forward, you do not see a finish line. You see a path you are equipped to walk for as long as you choose. Challenges will appear. New levels will demand more of you. You will meet them with the same steadiness you have built here. You rise, not dramatically, reliably. You decide who I become. My mind is mine. Say it, let it land. This is not affirmation anymore. It is truth. Your mind is no longer ruled by distraction, no longer owned by impulse, no longer shaped by avoidance. It is directed by you. This is the final seal. There is nothing to rush toward now. No need to prove anything. You move forward with quiet confidence, grounded discipline, and an unbreakable core. You are no longer the same, and you never will be again. Live it. Protect it. Lead. You made it to the end. That already says something about you. Most people stop early. You stayed. If this audiobook challenged you, if it sharpened your focus, if it reminded you of who you're becoming, then don't let this be a one-time moment. This channel exists for people who choose growth, discipline over comfort, clarity over noise, progress over excuses. If you want more audiobooks like this, more mindset training, more leadership, more inner strength, subscribe, like this video so it reaches the people who need it, and share it with someone who's ready to rise but hasn't found the words yet. Stay consistent, protect your mind, and keep moving forward. This is only the beginning.